Part 64. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 632. If An Ning wants to share wealth with him in the future, it is inevitable that she will have to endure a little more at this time. Yinzhen suppressed the impatience in his heart and proposed a compensation plan, but An Ning sneered. Is this a matter of eating? Her voice was a bit sharp, which clearly meant that her dignity and personality had been provoked and trampled upon. Yinzhen didn't want to argue with her about this issue at the moment. The two had a bad fight over this matter. He walked out of An Ning's yard for the first time after reconciling with An Ning. For some people, there are no secrets in the backyard of Prince Yang's mansion. The matter of An Ning and Yinzhen's quarrel spread in the whole palace in a blink of an eye. Everyone was overjoyed, lying on the beauty's back. When Lily, who was sitting next to her, heard the news, she really laughed. Xiaozi, bring An Ning's things for me again today. She wanted to add another fire to burn An Ning even more intensely. Although Xiaozi didn't understand why Lily always angered An Ning like this, she continued to rob An Ning. After a month of eating, the yard over there was extremely quiet. Xiaozi had long been used to it. She responded when she heard this. Before she could turn around and go out, Lily called her back and took out a brocade box. Comes. You grew up with me, and you are the most loyal to me, Lily said. Xiaozi hurriedly knelt down. In the plot, the original owner brought two girls into Prince Yang's palace, but except for Yuji's final rebellion, in addition, Xiaozi has always been very loyal to her. During the period before Nian Bei's death, everyone said that she was pregnant with a monster. When everyone wanted to hide away, Xiaozi was the only one who stayed by her side to serve her. At this moment, Xiaozi didn't understand why Lily said such things. But she still swore that she was absolutely loyal to Lily, so Lily opened the brocade box and handed the black meatball to Xiaozi. You tell the kitchen, I have no appetite for greasy dinner tonight. Anyway, Niu Hulu, there will be something delicious in my order. I just ask the kitchen to prepare a bowl of porridge for me, and you put these pills in the porridge. Master. Xiaozi trembled subconsciously when she heard this. Lily didn't want to explain to her anymore, so she waved her hand. Go ahead. Xiaozi had no choice but to go down and grab An Ning's food again at noon. In the afternoon, Xiaozi actually ordered the kitchen to stew porridge for Lily and put the black meatball into the porridge. It was not yet evening, and An Ning but the girl came and wanted to take away the bowl of porridge. This group of people came in an aggressive manner, and there were quite a lot of them. They looked like they were going to cause trouble if the kitchen didn't provide porridge. However, there was only one girl on Lily's side of the kitchen. In the end, the pot had just been stewed and had not had time to be brought into Lily's courtyard. The porridge was snatched away by people in An Ning's yard. When the girl came back crying to report the news, Lily couldn't help but smile. But she quickly raised her eyebrows and waved her handkerchief. Let's go. If you dare to rob my things, I want to see if Niu Hulu An Ning can eat the things she robbed. When she arrived at the An Ning courtyard looking like she was seeking revenge, the porridge had just been put into a bowl. When Lily broke into the house, An Ning had never thought of eating the bowl of porridge. She was just angry that Lily was snatching her things, so she wanted to retaliate with Lily, but at this moment Lily came to the door. An Ning was surprised at first. When she saw the uncontrollable scowl on Lily's face again, a sense of joy arose in her heart. What are you doing here, Sister Nian? I don't have what you want here. Mr. Niu Hulu, do you have nothing to eat? Why are you trying to grab my porridge? Bring it back to me immediately. Lily saw the untouched porridge bowl on An Ning's table. An Ning pretended to grab it, but An Ning was not prepared to eat it. But just like what Lily said, the food she snatched tasted particularly delicious. Even if it was a bowl of white porridge, when she saw Lily's face that was twisted with anger, her heart was filled with joy. The porridge came out, and An Ning picked up the porridge bowl without thinking. opened her mouth and took a big sip. The porridge had a faint medicinal aroma, which did not taste like pure white porridge, but Ning did not put this taste down. In her heart, she guessed that Lily must have felt that she was pregnant, and recently discovered the reason for her poor health, so she added some tonics. In addition, Ning didn't believe that Lily would be stupid enough to poison herself. She was the one who poisoned her. There is no poison in the world that can poison her, because she has a universal space that can detoxify her. Ning drank up the porridge in a few moments. When she finally saw the porridge basin standing aside, she was still a little upset. Looking at Lily's face that seemed to be gritting her teeth with hatred, she poured out the rest of the porridge. Drank it together. Although the porridge had no taste, when paired with Lily's angry face, Ning felt that this time the porridge was particularly delicious. She has been so angry with Lily these days. Just because she wanted to see the extremely painful scene of her miscarriage in the future, she almost suffered internal injuries. This arrogant, stupid, and ignorant Nian Lily, now can after being relieved for a while, Ning finished the porridge bowl and threw the spoon away. I've finished eating. It's gone. If you want to eat, you can cook it yourself. Just like you said, I'll buy you this porridge with 2 taels of silver. You won't have to look for the rest. It's a reward for you, and Ning took it. She wiped her mouth with the handkerchief and looked at Lily with a sneer. She had been overwhelmed by the arrogant Lily these days. Now that she robbed her of her porridge, she regained some of her original self. When she entered the house, Nian was so overwhelmed that she even fainted from anger. And Ning raised her eyebrows subconsciously, with a sarcastic look on her face. She often saw Lily make such a hateful look, that kind of contempt. His attitude seemed to come out of his bones, making people hate him so much when they saw it. Now that Ning had done it, he felt extremely comfortable. Don't be too proud. Let's wait and see. What if you just robbed my porridge and drank it? No matter how much you drink, you can't give birth to a son. Lily stamped her feet as if in anger, and she touched it again. He touched his belly, with an uncertain look on his face, and finally seemed to calm down, snorted coldly, gritted his teeth and let Xiaozi help him out. As soon as she left, Ning looked at her back and sneered, couldn't she be pregnant with a son? She just didn't want to get pregnant. She didn't think it was worth it before, but now it seems that she was wrong. Power is a good thing. Not only did she want to get pregnant, but it was best to give birth to twins. She figured it out. She wanted to have a baby with her. With Yinzhen together, this man is unreliable. Since he can't get his love, then he will seize his power and help him ascend to the throne. In the future, he will give birth to a son and assist his son to become the emperor. Then he will marry Yinzhen again. After separation, she has the space with her anyway. As long as she drinks the spring water in the space, she can be young and beautiful forever. By then, she will be young, have a son and have status. What kind of life can't she live? Aren't they just children? She wants much more. Anyway, her son should take the throne in this world from now on. She used to regard fame, fortune, and wealth as nothing more than floating clouds, so she never thought about giving birth to Qianlong with Yinzhen, but now Ning has a different idea. She is not only in order to give birth to Qianlong, she would also give birth to several more sons, making Nian Bei jealous and resentful. Thinking of this, Ning dismissed the girls around him and entered the space. She first drank the water from the spiritual spring. There were no impurities in her body, indicating that she was not poisoned. Then she began to prepare Tako pills. She wanted to give birth to twins. Giving birth to twins in modern times was a matter of great honor. Son, she can give birth to as many twins as she wants here. As long as she controls the amount of her own medicine, she has no problem giving birth to as many twins as possible. Ning has prepared the Duozi pills with the right amount of medicinal ingredients for twins, and she can take advantage of the space. She drank the spring water and drank it. That night, she sent someone to find Yinzhen. She cooked a few side dishes herself and apologized softly to Yinzhen. Naturally, the two of them had a good conversation that night. "Hello Yan." When the two of them fell asleep at night, the seeds left by Yinzhen began to move in Ning's body. She ate duoz pills that contained twice as much as in the plot, because she hated Lily far more than she did in the plot. In the plot, she hates Nian Lily. The concentration of the Tazawin she gave Lily was not comparable to that of Nian Lily's 4-person portion. Later, after she returned to space, she took the Tazawin for 2 people again. Ning's body, which had been well adjusted by the space spring water in the past, now became the best breeding ground for these seeds to set up camp. She didn't know what terrible changes had happened to her body. In her dream, she also dreamed of 2 children, 1 son and 1 son. The girl chased after her and called her mother. She was very cute in pink and jade. Ning thought that she would love these babies well and bring the best things in the world to them. Thinking of this, she could not bear to fall asleep. He couldn't help but laugh. The first month of menstruation was fine. After confirming that she was pregnant, Ning touched her belly and smiled proudly. A month later, Ning's belly began to swell slowly. Although Ning had no experience in pregnancy, she vaguely felt that her belly had swelled too quickly. Her menstruation had not come, and the signs of pregnancy were too obvious, even if she was pregnant. In November, it was so cold in Beijing that she put on a thick winter coat, but she couldn't hide the odor of pregnancy. 2 months later, Ning's belly began to swell rapidly, just like other people who were 5 or 6 months pregnant. She began to feel that something was wrong. The most important thing was that Lily's belly had not moved yet. Logically speaking, now she must have been pregnant for 3 months, and her belly has become this big for 2 months now. Lily must not be much smaller than herself. Could it be that she is hiding it? When Ning had some doubts, 2 months passed by in a flash. To be continued. Canon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 633. Ning is now more than 4 months pregnant. She is very weak at the moment. She dare not cut off the spiritual spring water in the daily space. Otherwise, she feels as if her heart is about to stop beating. She has to eat a lot of food every day. Space spirit fruit, otherwise she would be extremely panicked and her whole body would feel weak. Her legs were swollen, her face was swollen badly, and her belly was swollen as if she was blowing air. The scary thing was that the green blood vessels under her belly were all swollen. It was clearly visible that he felt as if there was something terrible in his stomach and that he would explode and die at any time. Every day when she turned over, she seemed to hear her bones rattling, as if they were about to break at any time. That feeling made Ning involuntarily scared, and her stomach squeezed her bones, making her body feel nervous. She was somewhat deformed, and her whole body ached every day. Drinking the spring water in the space could quickly restore her body to its complete state. It was equivalent to her being hurt while the spring water was repairing her. That kind of pain, it's simply beyond words. Yinzhen has not rested in Ning recently. She is pregnant and it is inconvenient to sleep with him. Naturally, the women in the mansion who had been waiting for this opportunity for a long time caught up with him and entangled him one by one. Ning felt that something was wrong every day, but something was wrong. Son, she couldn't say it. She had stopped going out for a long time. Her belly was too big and she swayed violently every time she took a step. She had already complained to Yinzhen, saying that she wanted to stay in the hospital to take good care of their children. Yinzhen also agreed. He is now 34 years old, but he has few children. Now he is looking forward to Ning's safe birth of children, so he allows her not to go out during her 10-month pregnancy. She didn't know what was going on outside and just lay in bed every day to raise her baby peacefully. But by the time she was 5 months pregnant, Ning's whole body had changed. Her belly was so big that she couldn't stand up, and she couldn't even see the ground when she lowered her head. Especially when her belly swayed, it seemed as if there were a lot of things inside. The squirming feeling in her belly made Ning a little creepy. She began to wonder if her pregnancy was a bit weird. But she comforted herself that it was impossible. Ning drinks a large amount of space spirit spring water every day to ensure her body's nutrition, but the child in her belly absorbs it too quickly. No matter how much she drinks every day, she still feels that it is not enough. All her time is spent on as she drank water and kept eating. Almost everything in the space was made of spiritual energy. After eating, her body absorbed all the spiritual energy. There was no waste produced at all, and there was no need to go to the toilet. Ning's attention was completely attracted by the child in her belly, and she couldn't feel anything weird. However, the servants around her showed fear every time they looked at her expression. He looked scared again. How are the rumors in the house recently? At this moment, Ning thought Lily, who was also pregnant, was leaning gracefully on the Kong, using a small hammer to smash walnuts to eat. Xiaozi knelt at her feet and answered Lily's questions respectfully. 3 months ago, Lily began to ask Xiaozi to slowly spread rumors in the house that Niuhulu was pregnant with a demon fetus. The news spread throughout the prince's palace. Going back to Master, recently Fujin has captured a few gossipy servants and sold them. No one in the house dares to say anything. It's just Master, who is cheating on Fujin. Is she really pregnant with a monster? Xiaozi shivered. Ning has not appeared for a long time, and the rumors in the house have spread like this. The more she doesn't show up, no matter how much the Olanala clan suppresses her. Secretly, others talked even more happily. A sneer appeared on Lily's face, wondering if Ning was pregnant with a demon fetus. She knew best in her heart that she had taken the Taiko pills she had made. If she had still had a trace of compassion when she attacked herself and had not killed herself, then she might still have a chance now. But if Ning was too fierce back then and her fighting spirit was going to kill her, then she can't blame others for her bad luck. It was his own fault that he could not survive. All the pain Ni and Lily had suffered back then was just retribution on Ning. At that time, Ni and Lily had a big belly, and the bones in her body were squeezed out of shape by the children in her belly. After going through so much suffering, a teenage girl was almost sucked into a human being by the children created by the space elixir in her belly. And these are not the most terrifying things. The most terrifying thing is the rumors circulating in the house. They are like a murderous sword. Nian Lily is in panic and extreme fear, and finally walks towards her own destruction. Seeing the faint smile on Lily's face, Xiaozi shivered excitedly. Lily raised her eyebrows and glanced at her. Before she could say anything, the maids came to Yinzhen from outside. The sound of greeting. "Get out." Yinzhen's face was very gloomy at this moment. His personal servant was taking off the black cloak that was wrapped around him. The snow on it was melted by the warm air in the room and slowly turned into snow water. It flowed to the tips of his hair. I don't know whether it was because the air had frozen his face, or because Yinzhen was in a bad mood at the moment. His expression was very scary. Recently, rumors circulated in Prince Yang's palace that Ning was pregnant with a demon fetus. The palace seemed to be suppressed by a layer of dark clouds. Everyone could see that Yinzhen was in a very bad mood at the moment and hurriedly kowtowed and retreated. Xiaozi glanced at Lily. Although she was a little worried, she still retreated silently. "Nian Lily, you are so good. Now you start playing these tricks with me. Do you believe that if you piss me off, the Nian family won't protect you?" Yinzhen shook off his braid, lifted up his clothes and sat down on the Kong with a golden sword. Reached out and grabbed Lily's hand holding the walnut, and dragged Lily over with force. At this time, his eyes were bloodshot, his expression looked a bit ferocious, and his eyebrows were furrowed, revealing a hint of murderous intent. "I'm hurting my concubine." Lily guessed that Yinzhen came over this time and showed such a ferocious look. He must have found out about the rumors she spread behind her back. Lily was not afraid at this time. She is now pregnant with a demon child. It's not her but Ning. It doesn't matter how much Yinzhen dotes on Ning. He is a man who wants to do big things. Compared with a woman and the country, what he always loves is the country. There are legends about the beauty who loves beauty but not the country. The reason why it is so touching is that it is the beautiful imagination in many women's minds. This time Ning is in trouble. You are spreading rumors behind your back. Just because of this, I can kill you. Yinzhen pursed his lips and squeezed Lily tighter. Unexpectedly, once he said these threatening words, Lily suddenly then he laughed. "I know very well. Is this a rumor? If what he spread was really just a rumor, Yinzhen would have arranged for Ning to come forward to refute the rumors. Now that Ning is still huddled in the courtyard and has not come out, it proves that she is indeed pregnant with this baby. Problem. Thinking of the scene after Lily took the Duozi pill in the middle of the plot, and then thinking of Ning who dared not leave the hospital now, and how Yinzhen and Olanala in the mansion only suppressed the servants who gossiped behind their backs, but did not let them go at all. And Ning's action to calm the accident made Lily feel more and more certain. The hand that caught the iron hammer threw the hammer away, patted her towering chest and laughed. "If it's really just a rumor, I'm afraid it's not me who is threatening you right now. Instead, I should have already given you something." Yinzhen stared at her for a long time, then suddenly snorted coldly, and dragged Lily off the Kong. Lily didn't even have time to put on her shoes, so she was dragged out by Yinzhen. It was already November. Snowflakes began to fall in Beijing. The number of people on the road to Ning Courtyard decreased from large to small. When they finally arrived at Ning Courtyard, a strange silence enveloped the courtyard. The house was lit with lights, but there was no sound inside. The servants coming and going were all pale with fright. When Lily was pulled into the yard by Yinzhen, a group of people knelt down tremblingly, not even daring to make a sound. Lying on the chaise longue in the room was a bloated figure like a hill, with long hair hanging loosely behind the bed. "When you turn around." Ning's exquisite and perfect face appeared in front of Lily, forming a sharp rival to her belly. It looked like a monster with the face of a beautiful human woman. Seeing this scene, Yinzhen couldn't help but feel a little nervous. Stiffened. "Master is here," and Ning could no longer turn over. Her belly grew bigger and bigger, and after 5 months the kid started growing faster. Her belly is so thin that you can almost see the blood vessels buried underneath. If she moves lightly on weekdays, the small capillaries will burst, which looks very scary. If she hadn't been nourished by the spiritual spring with space these days, she would have been the whole person, could no longer hold it any longer. But after drinking the spiritual spring of space, her belly could not be repaired at all. The bones in her body kept repeating the process of being torn apart and repaired. The feeling was heartbreaking. And Ning didn't know how she could end up pregnant. She was feeling a little uneasy about such an outcome. When she heard the noise outside, she turned around and saw Yinzhen. She said hello first, and then she saw Lily next to Yinzhen. Her expression changed. The child became a little stiff. "Nian Lily?" Nian Lily, her eyes widened in disbelief. In her mind, Lily, who was as pregnant as her, was standing in front of her with a slim and graceful figure. Her lower belly was flat, and she couldn't see it. She looked like she was pregnant. And Ning couldn't stand the stimulation and subconsciously wanted to sit up, but her abdomen was as heavy as a lot of lead weights. Her legs were also swollen like elephant legs and she couldn't move at all. No, she squirmed for a long time, but in the end she could only move her head. She screamed, "Why aren't you pregnant? Why am I pregnant?" Lily looked at Ning and smiled. Today's Ning looks even scarier than Nian Lily, who was sucked by the child in her belly like a human being. She is now rosy and beautiful, with smooth and white skin. This weird contrast makes her people's hearts were a little frightened. No wonder the people in her yard were so scared now. You. When Ning heard this, she couldn't answer. She gave Lily a lot of pills, and it was Yaji who was beside Lily who fed her to eat. Yaji came to repay her, saying that she saw Lily eat it with her own eyes. Yes, Yinzhen rested in her room for a few more days. How could it be possible that she wasn't pregnant? And Ning is well aware of the power of the Tazawin. Look, she only took one portion of the Tazawin for twins, but now she seems to be pregnant. When Ning thought of this, her head felt as if she had been hit hard by someone. Her whole body began to tremble involuntarily. She was not stupid, she was even smart, otherwise she would not have been able to get around in the early days of the Qing dynasty. Well, there is something wrong with her situation. Taikomaru only assigned herself twins. Even if she was originally pregnant with twins, she would only have 4 babies in her belly. She should not be like this at all. She started to feel a little flustered. The most improbable guess now felt like the most likely scenario, and her back started to feel numb. Layers of cold sweat came out of her pores. On a cold day, she was sweating like rain. You didn't eat. Maybe she was too excited, and she couldn't even speak. Yinzhen didn't know what Lily she was referring to, but Lily knew what she was referring to and laughed softly. I didn't eat. She nodded and admitted that Yinzhen had a murderous aura around her today. Obviously he was not ready to let Ning go anymore. Lily had a hunch that she might be able to complete her mission tonight. She sat next to Ning, touched her ridiculously big belly, and pulled the sheet for her that had fallen to the ground, but Ning was unable to pick it up. There was a hint of smile in her big eyes. You ate. Impossible, impossible. And Ning heard this as if she had heard the most terrifying thing in the world. She suddenly screamed, you lied to me. In fact, she had already guessed this possibility, but Ning couldn't believe it. When did she fall into Lily's scheme? She didn't know at all. She never ate anything sent from the big kitchen outside. She usually ate everything she had in her mouth. She was born in space, so it would not be easy for Lily to attack her. And Ning shook her head. The only extra food she had eaten was the bowl of white porridge, which originally belonged to Lily. When Ning thought of this, her whole body felt as if she had been struck by lightning, and she began to tremble like chaff. Porridge. Perhaps she was too nervous, and she even slurred her speech. Lily just looked at her and smiled. That moment. Looking at Lily's expression, Ning still doesn't understand. She has fallen into the trap, she has suffered Lily's plan. Lily targeted her from the beginning. Deliberately irritating her, she got angry at that moment. In fact, he has lost his mind and stepped into Lily's trap. She deliberately used peach blossoms to disgust herself, slowly made herself angry with the smallest things, and then used words to stimulate her. Just because it was trivial things, she began to feel disgusted and impatient, and slowly lost her guard. Because of Lily's disgusting little actions, Xin Buletin thought she was crude, stupid and ignorant, and lost her guard against her, thinking that she could only use this method to disgust herself. During the Mid-Autumn Festival on August 15, Lily even provoked her into a rage, and the two sides were fighting to the death. From then on, Ning had murderous intentions towards Lily. Later, Lily snatched her food and used this attitude to lure her. She stepped into the trap step by step until she took the initiative to drink the bowl of white porridge with added ingredients, and was stimulated by Lily. She wanted to give birth to a son in a moment of excitement. Lily seemed to be unruly and willful, but in fact everything she did was everything keeps her from calming down, and even every decision she makes is affected by Lily's attitude. After Ning figured this out, her whole body began to tremble, her teeth clenched, and she stared at Lily with a pair of big eyes speechless. She had given Lily more than the twins. The dosage of the pill was nearly 5 or 6 times too much. Most importantly, in order to get an auspicious title, she also took double the dosage of the pill. No wonder she felt something was wrong. No wonder she was only 6 months pregnant. She felt that she had almost stepped into the gate of hell several times. There were countless children in her belly. These children were eating her blood day and night and sucking her spirit. She originally wanted to harm Lily, but in the end she failed. Retribution has come to you. Impossible, and Ning stared at Lily in disbelief. She swallowed with difficulty and shook her head desperately. A biting coldness rose from her limbs and bones, making her face look a little blue. Bring the medicine not far away. Yinzhen didn't know what the two women were thinking. He glanced at Ning with disgust. He felt a little scary, and there was a bit of murder in his eyes. I mean, Ning can't have a demon child. Now is the critical time for him to seize the throne. He can't allow Ning to give birth to a child that can kill him. He had already made up his mind. The family next to him brought up the dark abortion medicine. Ning seemed to be going crazy at this moment. She even took the initiative to drink the medicine bowl and drank it into her stomach. This medicine was from Gongting. The secret medicine is very powerful and effective, and the damage to women will naturally increase exponentially. Ni and Lily in the plot also drank this kind of medicine, and it took less than 2/4 of an hour before the attack started. It's just that Ning drank the abortion pill for half a quarter of an hour, but she still looked as rosy as ever. She even asked Yinzhen desperately, is there more? Ning's body had drunk too much space spring water in the past and was well conditioned. In addition, she often took space elixirs. This 2OZ pill was produced by space, with quality assurance, so the child grew very well in her belly. After pregnancy, she used the things in space to regulate her body. Therefore, her body was much stronger than Yinzhen's imagination. After several bowls of abortion pills, Ning had no reaction at all. 2/4 of an hour passed. Ning's belly even began to squirm more frequently. There was no hint of miscarriage. On the contrary, it seemed that the little things in her belly were still very strong. A large amount of black dirt began to leak out of her body, with a faint smell of fish and medicine. This was because the body that had been transformed by the space spirit spring excreted the drugs that were harmful to the body. She was panicked and scared, but Ning had no way to enter the space at this moment. The space excluded anyone except her. After she was pregnant with the child, she could only take out things from the space with her thoughts. The child in her belly was regarded as an outsider and she could not enter the space. Ordinary abortion pills can't kill these evil species. I'm afraid only the elixirs in space can do anything about them. When Yinzhen saw this scene, his face turned dark, and everyone who was lucky enough to see the scene had cold sweat on their palms. The room was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop, and suddenly Yinzhen stretched out his hand, bring me the knife. Yinzhen, Yinzhen. What are you going to do? Len Hehe heard what Yinzhen said, and Ning suddenly became a little panicked and scared. She subconsciously reached out and grabbed the mattress on her body, with a look of panic on her face. Yinzhen gritted his teeth at this time and signaled the people around her grabbed Ning, and Lily watched with cold eyes. Seeing Ning being held down by several big men like a mouse about to be dissected, she screamed in agony. Someone blocked her mouth with a veil. Her belly has been exposed, and the skin of her round belly is now as thin as a cooked dumpling skin, and the contents inside are faintly revealed, as if even the child's head can be seen. Just one look at such a scene is simply unforgettable. The big man with the knife cut Ning's belly open with his dagger. Blood spattered all over those people. Ning's face was a little distorted. Her nose was trembling desperately. Her originally perfect and beautiful face seemed to be slightly deformed. The big man trembled and took out the child from her body. The child was only more than 6 months old, but he could already cry. Once it came into contact with the air, he began to struggle desperately, and the baby's cries of wow sounded one after another. Execution. The children were taken out one by one, and they cried one after another. Not only was there no joy on Yinzen's face, but there was only endless fear. Having many children was originally a joyful thing, but no one could see the child in a person's belly. The seemingly endless scene of being taken out of a child is enough to scare people into having nightmares. All of these children had the same appearance, their facial features were fully developed, and they were strong. The big man handled these babies tremblingly, but there were still many babies in Ning's belly that had not been taken out. 1, 2, 3, it wasn't until the 14th was taken out that the big man trembled and said, "Master, it's gone." The cloth from Ning's mouth fell. She was not dead yet. The smell of blood filled the room. There were a bunch of dead babies next to her. Yinzen pinched the beads on his wrist with trembling hands. What was even more frightening at this moment was it happened. A stream of clear spring water suddenly fell from the sky into Ning's mouth. She had not yet breathed her last. After experiencing so much torture, her body had been transformed long ago and was no longer comparable to ordinary people. When she had just had her baby removed by cesarean section, ordinary women might not be able to endure the pain, but Ning endured it. Her belly began to heal slowly, and her deformed bones began to return to their original positions. Even her cut belly began to recover. The pain on Ning's face slowly faded away. When she was feeling a little happy, however, Yinzen felt chills all over. He snatched the dagger from the big man's hand and wiped Ning's neck directly. Then he grabbed her head and twisted it. There was a soft click sound. The spring water did not drip into her mouth. The smile on her face froze, and large spurts of blood spurted out from her throat. She seemed to be panicking. At this moment, her face was pointed at Lily, with a look of panic, fear, and resentment in her eyes. Without the spring water, Ning's belly, which had healed quickly, stopped. Her strong body and quality allowed her to experience the death process longer than ordinary people, and she gradually lost her breath. Yinzen's hands were covered with blood, and he held the dagger in his hand tightly, as if he was still afraid of Ning waking up, and the people around him did not dare to show their anger. It was the first time for Lily to see such a powerful vitality of someone with space, and she couldn't help but feel regretful. Her back was numb. Fortunately, she defeated Ning this time. It was difficult to deal with people like Ning who seemed to have infinite vitality when they had space. If she had no plot or memory, she might not be able to deal with Ning. He could kill her so easily. The child was quietly disposed of. Fujin, the new Hulu family in the mansion, had a miscarriage last night, and the news spread quickly that one body and 2 lives were lost. In order to prevent Ning's resurrection, Yinzen had her burned. Lingzu's family was also suspected by Yinzen for raising a daughter like Ning, but he couldn't bear it. Lily saw something like that day, and Yinzen was very guarded against her. But the Nian family was useful at the moment, so Yinzen just asked people to trap her, and Lily didn't care, because her mission this time was about to happen. The death of Ning has been completed. Ning suffered the consequences and ended up with the same fate as Nian Beihe in the plot. It is conceivable that if Yinzen rises to power, the Lingzhu family may not get a good ending. Such a result, Nian Lily should be satisfied. The newly powerful Niuhulu family Ning and Nian Beihe died in Prince Yang's palace and were imprisoned. Kangzi pointed out another member of the Niuhulu family to Yinzen to carry them in. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 634. When dealing with Ning that day, Lily once saw the look on Yinzen's face. That faint fear was not just for the child in her belly, but Ning's death was also the reason for her own bad fate. It's probably because Lily teased Ning too hard during this mission. The amount of pills Ning gave Lily this time was much heavier than in the plot. Lily didn't know that she had also taken the pills to conceive twins. Regarding Takomaru, she only thought that Ning was a strong medicine she was planning to give herself, but the retribution came to her. It was not good for her to have many children, but she had to have 14. During that time, the eldest brother who was originally vying for the throne was the elder brother, the former prince, and the 8th elder brother were all scolded by Kangxi, but only the 14th elder brother, who had the same mother as Yinzhen at that time and was very favored by concubine De, was very popular with Kangxi. And Ning, if the child she was pregnant with was not 14, I'm afraid Yinzhen wouldn't be so wary of her. Maybe he didn't think about killing her when he saw her wound recovering. After all, he saw Ning possessing after such miraculous abilities, Yinzhen should trust her very much. The reason why Yinzhen did not hesitate to wipe her neck was probably because when he saw the number of children Ning was carrying, he thought it was a warning from God. Lily later figured out this problem while being imprisoned by Yinzhen, but in the end, only Yinzhen knows whether the real answer is this. Without Ning and Nian Lily, the new Niuhulu family soon gave birth to Yinzhen's son, who was named Hongli by Kangxi. History began to go on the right track, and Nian Lily's body this time it also declined very quickly, and Lily had already returned to the starry sky before Yinzhen ascended the throne. The moment the original owner's body breathed its last. When the news of Nian Lily's death was informed to Yinzhen, Yinzhen was a little stunned. There was a look in his eyes that seemed to be a little pity and a little complicated, and he finally breathed a sigh of relief. Calmly ordered people to hold a funeral for Nian. This time, Li Yangzi was not there in the starry sky. She had seen Li Yangzi on several missions. When she didn't see him in the starry sky this time, Lily was surprised at first. But soon the shadow of Li Yangzi appeared in the starry sky. Lily was about to walk towards him, but soon discovered that it was not Li Yangzi. It was just his shadow, expressing that he needed to go out for a while for something and would follow up when he came back. After Lily explained, the shadow flickered and disappeared. The moment his shadow disappeared, Lily subconsciously reached out to catch him, but the starry sky quickly returned to calm. She didn't know what happened to Li Yangzi. There was no warning before, and he didn't say when he would come back. Lily felt a little bit in her heart. Dazed, and seemingly a little empty. In the past, I was used to having two people in the starry sky. Now that Leng Hui lost one person, the starry sky in Nyata seemed a little deserted, and her information appeared. Gender, female, variable. Name, Lily. Age, 21. Intelligence, 85, out of 100. Appearance, 91, out of 100. Physical strength, 77, 100 full points. Force, 63, out of 100 points. Spirit, 82, out of 100. Reputation, 47, out of 100 points. Skills, 9 Yang Manual, 9 Yin Manual, Heaven and Earth Gate Tao Te Ching, Southern Gu Technique, Star Body Training Technique. Specialties, Advanced Cooking Skills, Advanced Acting Skills, 5 Elements, and Bagua, slightly dabbled in. Charisma, 68, out of 100. Mark, Royal True Dragon Spirit. This time, the force value increased by 2 points at once. Lily wondered if it was because she had fulfilled Nian Lily's wish, so she gratefully gave herself a blessing. However, Li Yangzi was not here at the moment, so everything could only be done. Relying on guessing, the dizziness from the teleportation mission came over, and Lily glanced at the starry sky. Sighed. Closed his eyes. It was quiet around the house. Lily woke up from the cold. When she sighed and opened her eyes, A terrible pain hit her from the left side of her head. She subconsciously reached out to touch her head, but she felt her hand was wet. There was a smell of blood at the end of my nose. It must have been a head injury. It was dark all around. There were no lights on at night. The sound of rain hitting the window glass came. The window didn't seem to be closed. There was a cold breeze. As the wind blew in, Lily seemed to have fallen asleep on the ground just now. Now when the wind blew in, she naturally shrank into a ball in the cold. She sat up shivering, and as soon as Lily moved, she realized something was wrong. This body was only wearing a pair of boxers, and there was no other clothing. She subconsciously reached out and touched herself, which was as flat as a row. She continued to touch her skeleton-like chest, and couldn't help but gritted her teeth and smiled bitterly. This time she became a man again during the mission, but she couldn't care less about sighing at the moment. It was so cold in the room. If she hadn't closed the window and found something to wrap herself up, she might have caught the cold just entering the mission. The rain outside was getting heavier and heavier. Lily stretched out her hands and hugged her chest. She stumbled and touched the wall first. According to the layout of the house and the corner of the sofa and coffee table she had just hid by herself, the mission environment this time should be modern. The room seemed very spacious. Lily patiently touched along the wall, and finally touched the bulge of a switch. After pressing it, the room suddenly lit up. After her eyes got used to the darkness, Lenming brightened up, causing Lily to squint her eyes subconsciously. After a long while, she opened her eyes again. This was a very luxuriously decorated villa living room, and the surroundings were deserted except for her. There was no one around. Things on the coffee table next to the sofa in the middle had been scattered all over the floor. The lamps had long been broken. There was blood on a crystal ashtray, which should have been where her body fell just now. The floor-to-ceiling glass windows were indeed wide open, and even the door was not closed. It was raining heavily outside, and I don't know what month it was. It was so cold that my fingers were already stiff. Lily quickly closed the window and saw the heating prompt on the wall next to her. She turned on the heating all of a sudden. Clothes nearby were scattered on the floor. Lily picked them up and put them on before tentatively heading upstairs. Go up. This villa has a total of 3 floors including the basement. The entire basement has been converted into a home theater mode, and the first floor is the living room, kitchen, and leisure area. The second floor is the living room. There are 3 rooms in total, each room is about 50 square meters and very spacious. One of the rooms was locked and could not be opened, while the other 2 opened with a push. No one was inside. The house was deserted. It was the dead of night again, and it was unlikely that anyone would be here. Lily walked into a room that seemed to be used normally, and took a hot bath first to warm herself up. Then Lily stood up in front of the mirror. A handsome and feminine face was reflected in the light. The body was so thin that only the ribs were left. The skin on her body was so pale that there was no blood, and her hair was grown very long. Now after washing, it was hanging down on her face, looking a bit eerie. Lily wiped her hair back and exposed her forehead, which made it look a little bright. Just when she raised her hand, the sleeves of the nightgown with large sleeves slid down, and the rows of pinholes on the pale and thin arms, which were like reed branches, caught Lily's attention. She cursed twice and quickly took off the nightgown. And sure enough, she saw that the arms on both sides were covered with pinholes, and the blood vessels in many places were no longer easy to touch. Lily couldn't help but cursed. It was already 2 o'clock in the morning, but there was no one around, except for outside the door locked with an old-fashioned lock. There is no one else in this room. I think the original owner probably lived alone. He was injured and was lying alone in the living room and no one came back to see him. I'm afraid no one would come in the middle of the night. Take advantage of this time. Lily lay back on the bed and began to take in the plot and memories this time. The name of this body is Zhang. Born into a distinguished family, her father is the governor of Hiwei province in China, and her mother Balin is the chairman of a well-known listed company in China. Their family is rich and powerful. Although the couple originally married for the sake of their family, they have not been married since. The relationship is pretty good. After giving birth to Zhang Bei's only son, Balin has never been pregnant again. Therefore, the two of them love their only son very much. The elders also like it very much. They are doted on by the whole family. He doted on Zhang Bei to the point of no end. He was fine when he was young and just bullied other people's children. With the power of Zhang Bei's family, as long as he didn't poke a hole in the sky, his parents could make things right for him. When he grew up, Zhang Bei lost his knowledge and skills, and his grades in the college entrance examination were not good. He became entangled with a group of children who were good at eating, drinking, and having fun in Hiwei province. There was no way he could get into college. It was because of his family connections. I just entered a well-known school in the same city. After entering college, Zhang Bei quickly fell in love with Yun, the school belle in the college. In the past, he was lustful. As long as the girl he liked was hindered by the power of his family, he would get his hands on any girl. Many girls even took the initiative. Through the relationship, he wanted to get close to Zhang Bei. Zhang Bei was interested in these women at first, but then he was no longer interested in these women. But this Yun is different. She is not only beautiful in appearance and cool in temperament, but also has a curvy figure. There is a feeling in her body that no one else has, like clouds in the sky. She has no good impression of Zhang Bei's pursuit. On the contrary, she is very disgusted with him. And her attitude not only does not cause Zhang Bei's displeasure, but also dislikes her. Like it more. Zhang Bei, who had never really been interested in any woman, began to really pursue Yun. He no longer dated other girls, but instead focused on Yun. He chased two girls in one pursuit. Years ago, when Yun's close friends laughed at Zhang Bei for wanting to eat swan meat, and it was impossible for Yun to look down on a waste like Zhang Bei who had no ability except relying on his parents, Zhang Bei's chance finally came. Yun's family was well off. Yes, father opened a small company in Hiwei City. However, in the first half of Yun's junior year, Yes father was defrauded of nearly 6 million because of his kindness. The family suddenly collapsed. Owing so much money, the bank also came to visit, and Yes father even wanted to die several times. Under such circumstances, Yun thought of Zhang Bei, who had been chasing him for a long time, and agreed to date him, but the prerequisite was that Zhang Bei wants to help her father. In Zhang Bei's heart, Yun is like his goddess. He originally thought that he would never have a relationship with the goddess in his life, but unexpectedly, in a sudden turn of events, the goddess actually proposed to date him. Zhang Bei was overjoyed. Naturally, he agreed immediately. He was so happy that he didn't see the boredom and disgust in Yun's eyes. He went back to beg his parents. Logically speaking, although Zhang Bei had accomplished nothing, he was not very smart or accomplished, but after all, his background is there, and many people are still staring at him. But he didn't expect that he didn't want anyone else's daughter, but in the end he settled on a girl from a small family. In fact, Zhang's father did not agree with the marriage at first, but it could not stop his son from acting recklessly. Zhang's mother, Balin, had nothing to do with her crying son. In the end, in order to please his son, he had to spend 6 million to help Yes father tide over the difficulties, and reluctantly married Yun into the Zhang family. After getting such a daughter-in-law, Balin is actually not very satisfied with Yun. She is too cold towards her son, but thinking that her son likes her, Balin has no choice but to love her as much as she can. As long as her son is happy, she has nothing else to ask for, so she is very flattering to Yeru-yun on weekdays. Knowing that she in the future, I want to join a TV station and become a host. He used his connections to get her into the provincial TV station and became a star on the station. Balin did all this just to hope that Yeru-yun would treat her son better. Even when she knew that Yeru-yun didn't want to live with her and her husband, she endured her reluctance to leave her son and spent a large amount of money with her husband to live in Hainan. I bought a luxurious single-family villa for the two of them in the most prosperous area of Seberangpuri. After decorating it, they allowed the two of them to move in by themselves. The couple only hopes that these two people will have a good life. I also hope that Yeru-yun can treat his son well in the future and teach Jang Bae-hee to behave better. Due to his background, Jang Bae-hee had an arrogant personality since he was a child, but he was not that bad. Even if he was a bit lecherous in the past, the most he would do was spend money on people. From the time he chased Yeru-yun, it was obvious that he would never have the guts to force a good girl into prostitution. But Jang Bae-hee is not motivated. He only plays, eats, and drinks with his friends all day long. Balin hopes that her daughter-in-law can teach her son to make progress. From now on, I and my husband's career can be handed over to my son. But she didn't expect that after the two of them came out to live alone, Yeru-yun actually felt very aggrieved for marrying Jang Bae-hee. In her heart, she was like a cloud in the sky. No matter how highborn Jang Bae-hee is, he is still a ball of mud in the ground. What she longs for is a soulmate who can communicate with her, take care of her, protect her and satisfy all her fantasies about Prince Charming. It is definitely not a waste like Jang Bae-hee who looks feminine and achieves nothing all day long. Knowing that she relied on her ancestral business to eat, drink and have fun without any ambition, she was like a rotting zombie. If it hadn't been for the family, she would never have married such a loser. She regretted her resentment and could not please Jang Bae-hee. He became more and more disdainful of him, and even when the two of them lived under the same roof, they often turned a blind eye to him. At first, Jang Bae-hee thought that he had married a goddess and took great care of her, but Yeru-yun didn't appreciate it. Sometimes the food Jang Bae-hee invited her to eat would be directly spilled on the ground. And although the two were married, she didn't. She thought about letting Jang Bae-hee touch her pure body, so she and Jang Bae-hee slept separately after they got married. In order to prevent Jang Bae-hee from doing anything to her, she put someone in her room. So, as time went by, Jang Bae-hee was originally a proud son of heaven. He grew up in the hands of his parents and family. He had never had so much leisure. He always pressed his warm face against Yeru-yun's cold ass all day long. Jang Bae-hee also fed up, he started to have a bad temper. Yeru-yun would ridicule him and laugh at him every time, and he looked down upon him more and more. Jang Bae-hee was always pampered. During the 2 years of their marriage, he was like a dog in front of Yeru-yun. He never even touched her with a finger. Yeru-yun never gave him anything in front of his friends. His face either exploded in silence or became perverted in silence. Jang Bae-hee finally couldn't bear it anymore. He was already under a lot of pressure, and in addition, he had made a group of friends who only focused on his family's power and money. Slowly, introduced by some unscrupulous friends, he started to take drugs. From then on, Yeru-yun naturally despised him even more. When he returned home one time after being drunk and having a cold, Jang Bae-hee begged Yeru-yun for help. After pouring himself a glass of water, but Yeru-yun just watched TV and ignored him, Jang Bae-hee finally went crazy. He thought of the daughter-in-law he had paid so much to get, only to find out that she was a bodhisattva when he took her home. Now she had such a condescending attitude, even asking her to get a glass of water. He finally couldn't help but think of others laughing at him for being a widow all these years. The situation where he didn't dare to touch Yeru-yun. People said that he didn't even dare to touch his wife, saying that he was not a man. Jang Bae-hee thought that he wanted to have sex with Yeru-yun, but in the end he didn't expect that it was because he was drunk and had a cold. Not only did he not meet Yeruyun, but Yeruyun took an ashtray and hit him on the head. After breaking his head, he left him unconscious on the ground and walked away angrily. When Zhang Beihe woke up, it was as if he had become a different person. He began to learn medicine, Chinese medicine, acupuncture, and even martial arts. Then he turned from a waste to a master, becoming famous in Highway City, and more than once. His martial arts skills are superb, and even his cooking skills are extraordinary. Yeruyun has not been back since the last time he smashed Zhang Beihe and returned to his parents' home. However, Yes father is not a business person. Without the support of the Zhang family, he quickly started to do business. Something went wrong again. In order to ask Zhang Beihe for help, Yeruyun had to move back home. This time, the two of them were like happy enemies. During the fight, Yeruyun discovered that Zhang Beihe had changed. From then on, he began to slowly look at him differently. Moreover, Zhang Beihe later exercised his body and built up muscles. He was no longer the wretched second-generation ancestor he was. He became very manly. Yeruyun liked this kind of Zhang Beihe very much and was willing to devote herself to him. Beihe eventually became the pride of his parents, and even rose to prominence, and had relationships with many women along the way, but Yeruyun still loved him madly. She looked down upon Zhang Beihe, who was a little incompetent but devoted to her. However, in the end, she fell in love with Zhang Beihe, who was capable but flirtatious, and believed that polygamy was a common thing. She even shared him with many women, and they were happy to call each other sisters. Later, Zhang Beihe became famous throughout China with his medical skills, martial arts, and strategy. In the end, he waved away all fame and fortune while talking and laughing, and declined all kinds of titles, regardless of what Zhang's father and mother wanted to entrust to him. He waved his hand and took away not a single cloud of his career, leaving only a legendary reputation. He took all the beauties with him and returned to seclusion, traveling around the world and enjoying the leisurely life served by all the beauties. Although the later Zhang Beihe was also the original owner at this time was strangely resentful of the later Zhang Beihe. Similarly, he also had no good impression of Yeruyun, who later truly committed himself to him. He even thought of Yeruyun at this time. There was only disgust and regret. He hated Yeruyun for marrying him for the family, but almost ruining him. Although he later became more promising after quitting drugs, he still hated him. Lily could feel the complexity in the original owner's heart. Thoughts? After taking in the plot and memories, Lily's eyebrows jumped involuntarily. In this case, she was 100% sure that there was something wrong with Zhang Beihe behind this. The two Zhang Beihe before and after him should be two completely different people. Because although the previous Zhang Beihe was a loser, he had never thought that polygamy was a common thing, and he didn't know any martial arts or medical skills at all. The Zhang Beihe behind him was like an ancient man from a feudal society. Generally speaking, there are some unusual male chauvinistic ideas. Lily guessed that the Zhang Beihe in the future might not be the original owner, so he would have resentment towards his later self. This was not the first time that she encountered a time-traveling man and woman during a mission. Lily calmed down quickly. It should have been in the plot that Zhang Beihe was knocked down by Yeruyun when he was drunk and cold and wanted to act impulsively on Yeruyun. On the ground, due to excessive blood loss and the fact that no one cared about him after he fell to the ground, the original owner had been drunk and suffered from cold, so it was possible that he was possessed by a ghost from ancient dynasties in the blink of an eye. The original owner at that time was seriously injured, with weak breath and lack of mental strength. It was normal for him to be so-called time-traveled. Thinking of this, Lily suddenly remembered that the time when she entered the mission happened to be when Zhang Beihe saw Yeruyun tonight. When he impulsively wanted to touch her, but ended up being seriously injured, Lily's face changed slightly. Before she could sit up, a sharp pain hit her mind, as if someone was squeezing her body. As if her spirit was about to be swallowed up, Lily hugged her head, cursing in her heart, but she clenched her teeth tightly, and once her eyes were distracted, she bit the tip of her tongue. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 635. This feeling of being time-traveled is not pleasant, as if the whole person's soul is about to be swallowed up by others. Lily does not dare to let others swallow her up. Li Yangzi has gone far away and gone to who knows where, and if she is swallowed up, then she would be worse off than dead. All the accumulated tasks she had done in the past would benefit others. If she wanted to be annexed, she should not be annexed by others, but should be annexed by others. Her will to survive is very strong, and in addition the mental level has reached over 80, and she had had the experience of resisting the possession of a reborn woman during a mission before. Therefore, Lily felt that after a long struggle, the inexplicable power gradually faded unwillingly. The inexplicable power disappeared, and her body seemed to be pulled in half just now. Even though the strength had disappeared, the sequelae of mental exhaustion came up, and Lily only felt that her body and limbs were all broken. She felt sore and uncomfortable, and her head was extremely dizzy. She wished she could fall asleep immediately, but she didn't dare. She was afraid that as soon as she fell asleep, the soul that later transported Zhang Beihe would appear again, so Lily endured the discomfort. Lily felt a little sleepy at the moment, and got up from the bed. I don't know if it was because the original owner had caught a cold, and had just experienced another mental killing. It was probably because this body had been injected with drugs for a period of time. Lily kept yawning when she got up. It was not until she finally started to do some physical training that spiritual energy slowly flowed into her body, and her severe headache was relieved a lot. When it was almost dawn, Lily's body had already heated up, and a lot of sweat beads appeared in the pores. This sweat had a fishy odor, which should be the toxins in the body that were expelled as the spiritual energy entered the body. Reason: it was already dawn now, and the time for the soul to possess her was missed. Lily took another bath and fell on the bed again. In the plot, it is impossible for Yeruyun to come back for these 2 days. She had always looked down on Zhang Beihe and was very tired of him. If nothing happened to the Ye family, she would wish to stay at her parents' house all day long. Although it was Yeruyun who took the initiative to marry Zhang Beihe and it was for her father's sake, Yeruyun always regarded marrying Zhang Beihe as a shame. She even mentioned it when she and Zhang Beihe quarreled several times. At this point, after what happened yesterday, Zhang Beihe intended to get Yeruyun's body. She must have hated Zhang Beihe now and wanted him to die, so she would not come back during this period. And it wasn't until half a month later that her father's business ran into problems again, that she would return to their home. This situation had happened several times before, but Zhang Beihe didn't attack Yeruyun before. It's just a foot move. Every time the two of them quarrel, Yeruyun doesn't like Zhang Beihe anymore. Then he ran back to his parents' house, and did not come back until Zhang Beihe went to beg for help several times, or when his parents' family needed help, he returned home and asked Zhang Beihe to find his parents for help. Every time, the original owner listened to her words stupidly. Lily thought of this and felt a little contempt for Yeruyun in her heart. Zhang Beihe was indeed a helpless man. If Yeruyun really felt that she had suffered a loss by marrying him, she would not have done it in the first place. You should get married, but after getting the benefits, you feel that the sacrifice of your body is not worth it. In trading, we are only willing to take advantage but not suffer losses. She only had the reputation of being Zhang Beihe's wife, but in fact she had not fulfilled any of her responsibilities as a wife. She still felt aggrieved, even though the original owner had gone too far in hoping that she would fulfill her marital obligations in the end. But no matter what, she shouldn't have knocked the person unconscious and then left, nor should she have dragged the person into bed. If there was no later time traveler in the plot, the original owner would probably have died like this. However, Yeru-yun never thought of coming back to see him. Jang Bae-hee had always treated her well and was even very flattering. Not to mention that they were husband and wife, even if they were strangers, she was too cruel. No wonder the original owner ended up hate her and hoped to make her pay. After sorting out the memories in her mind, Lily planned to take advantage of the half-month before Yeru-yun came back to take good care of her body, at least to get rid of the drug first. It felt like she had felt it before, and it was extremely uncomfortable. Anyway, the original owner didn't need to work to make money. He had just graduated from college, and he didn't want to work. His mother, Valen, loved her son very much, and she couldn't bear the hardship for her son, so she gave him money in the name of her company. He had a casual job, and a lot of pocket money was put into his card every month, so he didn't worry about money at all. But in the past, Jang Bae-hee gave his card to Yeru-yun in order to express his love for Yeru-yun. But Yeru-yun didn't care about using Jang Bae-hee's things at all, and casually gave the card to his younger siblings. Lily has no money in her hands at the moment. The original owner used to sign for accounts when he went out to spend money. The monthly bills were sent directly to Balin. There were not many places where he could spend money, so did he have that bank card? It didn't matter, but the situation was different now. Lily thought for a moment, picked up the phone on the bedside, and dialed Yeru-yun's mobile phone number. In the memory of the original owner, Yeru-yun's mobile phone number had long been memorized by heart, but when she called, Yeru-yun did not answer, but quickly hung up the phone. Lily was a little annoyed and dialed Yeru-yun again. When she asked for the phone number, the caller hung up at first, and then it got a busy signal. Apparently she had added Lily's call to the blacklist. Lily couldn't help but cursed, turned over and sat up. She was originally thinking she asked Yeru-yun to send the card back to her and then sleep for a while. Unexpectedly, Yeru-yun didn't answer her call. Apparently, the original owner wanted to rape her this time, which made Yeru-yun, who already hated Jang Bae-hee, angry. Lily found some clothes and put them on, then took the car keys and went out. The original owner's hair was too long before going out. The hair in the front fell down and almost blocked his eyes. The original owner liked the feeling of a beautiful Japanese boy. In addition, he had a feminine and handsome appearance. He used to dress like this when going out. He still attracts the attention of many girls. In addition, he has a pair of wealthy and leisurely parents, so he is even more popular with women. But Lily didn't like this feeling, but he didn't even have any money when he went to the barber shop, so it was naturally impossible for him to get a haircut. In addition, he had been a woman for a long time, and Lily was not used to having no hair, so he took something and pried open Yeru-yun's room, found a rubber band from her room and tied up her forehead hair before going out. She drove directly to Yes Father's company first. When she parked the car downstairs, Yes Father locked the car, and before she could enter the commercial building, the elevator door opened in the lobby not far away. After seeing a group of people out, Smiley Face was also talking to someone. When they went out, Father Yes saw Lily waiting by the car at a glance. The smile on his face suddenly darkened. His face suddenly turned ugly. "What are you here for?" "Yesterday, my daughter came home crying in the middle of the night. She was covered in rain and tears. She looked heartbroken. When I asked her what happened, she didn't mention it. She just kept shaking her head." Father Ye is an honest man and his whole life has been for his family. It's just that business has not been doing well in the past 2 years, and he is old-fashioned and does not know how to adapt, so he owes a lot of debt. In order to repay the debt, his daughter was forced to marry Jang Bae-hee, a wasteful libertine. It was enough to make Yes Father uncomfortable. I didn't expect that this good-for-nothing would dare to bully his own daughter, and now she dared to appear in front of him. Father Ye was so furious that he pointed at Lily's nose and shouted, "Get out of here, I don't want to see you." "Mr. Ye, I don't want to see you either. Compared with the fierce and excited look on Yes Father's face, Lily just frowned indifferently. She did not put on a smile like the original owner did when she saw Yes Father before. He stepped forward and called Dad, and his hot face touched his cold butt. Not only did Yes Father not appreciate him, but he also hated him even more. Anyway, now the original owner had no love for Yeruyun and only had hatred. All he had to do was to avenge Yeruyun for him. There was no need to please Yes Father. Lily took a few steps back coldly, leaned against the car and shook the key. Where's Yeruyun? She no longer called herself shyly and affectionately like before, and she no longer flattered herself and admitted her mistakes. If Jongbei had made Yeruyun unhappy before, if he wanted to come to the Ye family to persuade her to go back, he would have to do so in front of the entire Ye family. He knelt down in front of others and promised not to make her angry again. Father Ye originally looked down on Jongbei, the second-generation ancestor, and seeing that he was so spineless, he naturally looked down on him more and more. Every time, he thought that he was the one who harmed his daughter. Throughout his life, he had never had a good look when seeing Jongbei, but now Lily's expression was cold. Father Ye was stunned for a moment. When she asked about his daughter, he just thought that Jongbei was just pretending. So he said angrily, "Don't think about it. Ruyun won't go back with you. What did you do to her yesterday? I don't need her to go back with me. She stole 2 bank cards from me, and now I need her to return them immediately." Lily's face darkened, and Father Ye couldn't believe it when he heard it. He knew best what kind of character his daughter was like. She had been beautiful since she was a child, and there were always big shots chasing her. She would not care about money at all, otherwise she would not have rejected Jongbei countless times in the first place. If he hadn't caused her trouble in the end, Jongbei might not be able to marry her until his death. Get out of here. If you keep talking nonsense, I'll beat you to death. I say it again, ask Yeruyun to return my card immediately, otherwise I will call the police in half an hour. Lily frowned impatiently. When Yeruyun heard what she said, he became furious. He had a bad temper. He was furious, and he didn't like Jongbei. Now seeing Lily being so arrogant, it seemed to Yes Father that it was all to force his daughter to go back, so he yelled, "Get out of here. You're a useless thing, I can't help you. I want my daughter to get a divorce. Get out of here, get out." To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 636. Shut up, Lily didn't sleep all night last night. In addition, she had been fighting for this body with the soul from another world for a long time. In order to be afraid that the soul would come again, she had not rested since entering the mission. She impatiently stretched out her hand. He patted the roof of the car and stared at Father Ye condescendingly. "There are 28 minutes left. Tell Yeruyun to take my card and roll in front of me immediately." Father Ye was startled by her action of patting the car, and subconsciously closed his mouth. When Lily finished speaking, when he was about to get angry again, the people around him who came out with him quickly stopped him. These people are Yes Father's business partners, and they all know that Yes Father's daughter married the Crown Prince of Highway Province. In the past, I heard that the Crown Prince was very obedient to Yeruyun, but now that I saw it with my own eyes, I realized that the rumors were true. Wrong. Seeing that Yes Father wanted to scold him again, this group of people hurriedly gathered around. They wanted to please Lily but also wanted to do personal favors, so they all advised Yes Father, if there is a misunderstanding, just call Miss Ye to come over and clarify it. He couldn't listen to Lily's words, but Yes Father could still listen to what the people next to him said. Although he didn't believe that his daughter would take Jongbei's bank card, in order to vent his anger, Yes Father still said it on the spot. He called Yeruyun's phone number. In order to prove his daughter's innocence in public, Yes Father even put the phone on speakerphone. The phone just rang, and Yeru-yun on the other end quickly connected the call. Her voice was still nasal. When she called Father Ye's tone softened and even sounded a little doting. Yun, did Dad disturb you? Yeru-yun replied. There was some noise there at first. Gradually it became quiet. Apparently she went to a quiet place and answered the phone. Father Ye told her the scene here. Zhang Beihe, a prodigal, said you stole his bank card, and so on. Dad believes you are not like this. Did that shameless scoundrel find you? Before Father Ye finished speaking, Yeru-yun became furious when he heard Lily's name and almost screamed, when did I steal his card? He obviously gave it to me himself. Originally, Father Ye wanted to say that his daughter would never take Zhang Beihe's card. When he heard Yeru-yun's words, everyone was confused. Yeru-yun was still saying angrily. Who cares about his dirty money? Who would steal his things? This shameless guy is simply a rogue and a scoundrel. Lily was a little confused. Apart from yesterday, when did the original owner do anything to Yeru-yun? How could she hate Zhang Beihe so much? Yesterday, Zhang Beihe almost did something wrong when she was drunk, but she hit someone and ran away, leaving the original owner in the plot with his life. It's time for people to be evened out. Why is Yeru-yun still pretending to be a victim? He asked you to return the card within half an hour. Father Ye heard his daughter scolding. He glanced at Lily coldly, and then said gently, we don't want his things, so give them back to him. Dad will buy you whatever you want. I won't see him, Dad, this is his little trick. I feel sick when I see him now. Yeru-yun obviously had the same idea as Ye's father. At this moment, they all thought that Lily's move to ask for the card was to deceive. When she came forward, she remembered what happened last night, and Zhang Beihe's hand was on her arm. I feel like vomiting. Even if she couldn't see Yeru-yun's face through the phone at this time, Lily could imagine the look on her face at this moment. Miss Ye, you are too shameless. No one will like your dead coffin face now. Please return my card immediately, otherwise I will call the police immediately. Lily reached out and took Father Yes. The phone was snatched away. After saying something, she threw it back into Yes' father's hands. The feeling of such venomous tongue was so good. Hearing Yeru-yun on the other end of the phone gasping with anger, Lily added, don't think you, what kind of fairy are you? You don't have a halo, and you can't fly in the clouds. No wonder that when I met Haining in the previous mission of the end of the world, every time he used harsh words to criticize people, they would tremble with anger. He would always touch his glasses happily, and Lily would now look at Yeru-yun after trampling on it for a while. I felt a little refreshed. Yeru-yun almost screamed. In the end, he forgot that he was on the phone with Yes' father and hung up the phone directly. Lily sneered and raised her hand to look at her watch. Father Ye glared at her bitterly. He was a little annoyed to be embarrassed by Lily in public, but also a little sad that his daughter married such a person. He stood awkwardly. Naturally, several other customers from the company did not dare to leave when facing Lily. They all stood aside in a flattering manner. Someone introduced himself and took out his business card. Lily just glanced at it casually and did not reach out. Catch. Father Ye resented her for putting on airs and not saving any face for herself in front of so many people. He couldn't help but scolded her. The customers hurriedly began to persuade he lie. When they were in a commotion, a car, the white sports car, suddenly stopped on the side of the road. Yeru-yun, who had long straight black hair, got out of the car with a cold face. She was wearing a light pink sweater underneath and a white down jacket. Her hair was pulled down to her right breast. In front of her, she didn't wear any jewelry and put on light makeup. Her temperament of an icy beauty was very obvious. When she got off the car, she stepped on high heels and walked towards Yes' father, ignoring Lily beside her. Dad. It was Yeru-yun's time to go to work. She didn't answer Lily's call in the morning, but she didn't expect that Lily would go to Yes Father's company to cause trouble. For Yes Father, Yeru-yun had to suppress her disgust towards Lily and asked her to the leader of the unit drove over here after asking for leave. She originally thought that Lily was just trying to force her out, so she felt very sad that she married such an incompetent waste who did nothing and only played and made trouble during work hours. She was sad, but she didn't want to cry in front of Lily, so she suppressed the sadness in her heart and her expression became colder. "Did you get the card?" Lily naturally saw the annoyance on Yeru-yun's face, so she didn't care about it and stretched out her hand directly to Yeru-yun. Yeru-yun was still a little resentful about her forcing him to come out during working hours, so he didn't want to pay attention to her at the moment. But when Lily opened her mouth and mentioned Ka, she suppressed her anger. "I love Rufeng and Ruyu. Rufeng is her younger brother and younger sister. They are twins. They are 17 years old this year and will take the college entrance examination in half a year." In the past, Zhang Beihe was very fond of Yeru-yun. The two brothers and sisters are very eager to please. They have long promised to find a focus for these two brothers and sisters. Unfortunately, his kindness makes the Ye family very angry. They think that their children can pass the exam with their true ability. In college, it is not like Zhang Beihe who is unlearned and has no skills. In the end, he can only rely on his parents to study. Zhang Beihe failed to flatter him in the end, but was ridiculed by the Ye family. Therefore, Lily had a very good impression of the twin brothers and sisters. Deep. They have just started school. "I will find someone to take them back to you in the evening," Yeru-yun said coldly to Lily, and finally raised his eyebrows in disgust. When he looked at Lily, he seemed to be looking at a bedbug social scum. "General, I hope you won't harass my parents and family again." Before Lily could finish her words, she couldn't help but laugh. "Look in the mirror, Miss Ye," she said while turning the rear-view mirror of her car and pointing it in Yeru-yun's direction. "You look really ugly. I just came to ask for my card. I think college has taught you too many things. You must have learned this very smoothly." As soon as she said these words, Yeru-yun's slender body began to tremble slightly. Her beautiful face became more and more cold now, her lips pursed tightly, and her cold eyes fell on Lily, who had gentle eyes. After looking at her with a smile for a long time, he adjusted the rear-view mirror back to the previous position. "Since you said that the card will be sent back to me, I will wait." After Lily said that, she drove towards Yeru-yun. The sports car took a look. Miss Ye has so many plagues on her body. She shouted that she didn't want Zhang Beihe's bad money and looked down on his lack of knowledge and skills. But now that she has a job and a good car she drives, nothing is wrong with Zhang Beihe. Beihe's mother paid for it. Even if you become a bitch, you still have to build a memorial arch. She is talking about a fake and noble woman like Yeru-yun. At first, Yeru-yun didn't react to Lily's words. She stared at Lily coldly. It wasn't until she saw Lily's eyes turning to her sports car that she suddenly seemed to react and saw the words in Lily's eyes again. Contempt and boredom, this kind of look was always how she looked at Zhang Beihe. Now when the situation was reversed, Yeru-yun felt a sense of humiliation in her heart. She trembled and threw the car key at Lily. "Roll." Lily came here today just to make her angry. Now she saw Yeru-yun's chest heaving with anger. If the original Zhang Beihe saw such a scene, he would probably feel a little pity for her, but now in Zhang Beihe there was a woman's soul under her body, so Lily stretched out her hand to grab the key without even looking at her, looked at Yeru-yun with a sneer, turned around, opened the door, and drove away without looking back. After she left, Yeru-yun remembered that her bag, belongings and other things were still in the car, but now the car was locked, and her car keys were returned to Lily in anger. Now she couldn't take it out. There were still some of her own things inside. She was already wronged enough by thinking of marrying such a useless man. Now Lily wanted to make her angry like this. The more Yeru-yun thought about it, the more angry she became, and finally threw herself in Father Yes' arms. He cried sadly. To be continued. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 637. Half the morning was spent with the family. The soul of the time traveler did not reappear. It missed the time of his rebirth in this body. It was unlikely that it would reappear. Lily drove home and turned over first. Looking through the refrigerator, it was empty. Except for a few bottles of water, there was no other food. Lily had to go upstairs and sleep for a while. It wasn't until the evening that someone from the property management office called and said that something had been delivered by courier. After a while, the property management team brought it over for Lily. Yeruyun did not come back in person, but found a courier to put the card in an envelope and sent it. There was also a piece of paper attached, which read, "My brother and sister have spent a total of 390,000 on you in the past 2 years. I will think I'll give you the solution." This should have been written by Yeruyun. Lily only glanced at it, sneered, crumpled the note into a ball and threw it into the trash can. Yerufeng and Yeruyu only spent 390,000 yuan in the past 2 years, but Yeruyun alone spent more than this. Balin had spent 6 million yuan when she married Yeruyun, and helped her every step of the way. In total, the Ye family and the Zhang family invested no less than 30 million, not to mention that Zhang Beihi's father was the governor of Highway province, which gave the Ye family a lot of convenience. It is impossible to calculate these debts, but Yeruyun subconsciously omitted this point. I am afraid that in her opinion, the things she married Zhang Beihi have already offset, and Zhang Beihi should owe her more. After sleeping for half a day, Lily's energy was much better than in the morning. She got up and went out to buy a lot of food to move home. She was going to take this time to recuperate her body at home. The original owner was really too weak. Plus he was addicted to drugs. Moreover, I had been injected many times under the coaxing of a group of friends, and my body couldn't bear it at all, and it collapsed quickly. It couldn't be done in a day or two to eliminate all these toxins. Moreover, Zhang Beihi's body has never been exercised before, so it is very difficult to practice the star body technique. He cannot do many movements. Lily has not finished practicing the body art again at night. The phone rang. It was the friend of the original owner who invited him to the nightclub and joked that good stuff was coming again. Most of these people were the children of some wealthy businessmen who were trying to please Zhang Beihi. Although some families were rich, they were in the process of seeking excitement. Among them, many people have already had their money wiped out. The reason why they coax Zhang Beihi to play with them is other than asking him to do errands sometimes so that they can talk better. She also wanted to ask him to pay for the bill. She didn't answer the phone for a while, so she left a message. Lily endured the pain in her body and heard the wretched man's laughter in the phone message. The addiction in her body seemed to be suppressed. Looking up, she gritted her teeth. After finishing the exercise while holding back the shivers, I picked up the phone and smashed it to pieces, feeling relieved. Zhang Beihi's drug addiction this time was different from the situation in the previous mission when he became Tong Beihi. Zhang Beihi's addiction was obviously much deeper than that of Tong Beihi, who had only been injected once. It took Beihi half a month to inject drugs every time. Apart from eating and a little time for sleeping, most of her time was spent on adjusting her body and getting rid of drug dependence. Half a month later, although her body did not store spiritual energy, the toxins in her blood had been excreted. Most of it. Zhang Beihi's originally ugly face looked much better than before. When I looked in the mirror again, my face was no longer as dull as before, my skin was much whiter, and even had a lot more luster. Although the original owner is not yet 23 years old. But in fact, the body is worse than that of a person in his 40s or 50s. Lily spent half a month nourishing this broken body with spiritual energy. Now we have achieved some success. When Lily got up in the morning, she had just finished a physical exercise and felt a weak spiritual power slowly moving around in the muscles of her body. She was about to use this spiritual power to walk around the body for 2 times, when she came downstairs. But suddenly there was the sound of a car stopping. Lily frowned and subconsciously jumped up from the bed, walked to the window and looked out. Zhang Beihe lives in a luxury villa area in the city center. There are only a few villas in this large area. Each house is separated by a long distance to ensure the quietness and privacy of each household. Because of Zhang Beihe's special status, this house has the best location. There is a large forest park behind it and an artificial lake in front. It is almost impossible for anyone to come here except Yeruyun. Lily is guessing whether when Yeruyun came back, there was the sound of unlocking the door downstairs. She opened the door and looked down from the railing on the 2nd floor. She saw the mother of this body, Balin, carrying several large bags of things. Holding the bag, he pushed the door open with one hand. Perhaps sensing the movement on the 2nd floor, Bailan raised her head. When she saw Lily, a loving smile appeared on her face. "Why are you up so early? Are you hungry? Mom will make it for you. Eat." It was already past 10 o'clock in the morning, but the original owner always liked to play and have fun. He would never fall asleep if he didn't play until early in the morning. Therefore, he usually didn't get up until the afternoon. Balin rarely saw his son in the morning. "Unexpectedly I saw it when I brought something over today." Balin felt a little happy, but then her face turned gloomy again. She didn't even have time to dial the key in her hand. "Are you feeling uncomfortable somewhere? Why are you up so early? If you haven't slept enough, sleep a little longer. Mom will call you during dinner." She paused and watched Lily shaking her head as she came down from the 2nd floor. Balin looked carefully at Lily's face, which was indeed much prettier than before. She couldn't help but feel relieved. "Where is Yeruyun? I heard that she has been returning home these days. The Ye family has gone? Little ancestor, what's going on?" Lily mentioned the things she put on the ground, and Balin quickly came to get them. "Sit down and don't move, I'll do it." She sorted the things into the refrigerator and put them away. In the past, Balin would not have dared to ask about Yeruyun. Son, Zhang Beihe valued her more than his eyes. If her parents mentioned her, they would lose their temper. Balin endured her dissatisfaction when she saw her son being bullied by Yeruyun, but today she saw that she mentioned Yeruyun. Not only was the name Lily not angry, but her face looked very calm. She felt relieved, pulled Lily and walked towards the sofa. "What's wrong? Your dad is worried. Let me come over and take a look." The couple only had one son, and they both looked at him with eyes. Although his son is not living up to expectations, he can just talk about it on weekdays, but others cannot touch him. In the past, he could not be loved enough just by holding him in his hands. Unexpectedly, after they got married, they started to argue about moving out. No matter how reluctant the couple was, they had no choice but to ask Zhang Beihe to move out. They usually only took the time to come and take a look. Yeruyun moved out of this villa and returned to the Ye family half a month ago. She has a special status, so this matter cannot be hidden at all. It has been spread out long ago. Zhang's father is busy with official duties on weekdays, and he didn't get the news until 2 days ago. Balin bought some things today and came to see her son. "Just ask about the situation. It's nothing, she can go back to Ye's house if she likes." "I don't care." Lily relaxed her body and leaned on the sofa, and said lazily. Balin looked at her squinting eyes and looking lazy, and her complexion was half as bad. "Many months ago, I saw how much better she was, and I couldn't help but feel happy. I cut her hair. You've grown up, and you have an idea. But marriage is not a child's play for people like us. Talk to her later, and don't act willful like a little girl at your age. Bai Lan had already looked at Yeruyun. It's not pleasing to the eye, but her son was protective of her before and didn't say it directly. Now that Lily has figured it out on her own, Balin couldn't help but say a few more words in happiness. In the past 2 days, your father heard that you have been good and don't go out to talk to those people again. I'm so happy that I'm playing around, and I asked you to go back and have a look at some time. From now on, my parents' career will be in your hands, so there's no harm in learning it as soon as possible. In the past, Zhang Beihe would be impatient if the original owner's parents mentioned this. But at this moment Balin finished speaking. Lily just nodded, seeing that her son became behaving well after not seeing him for a few days. Balin only thought that this time her son was so stimulated by Yeruyun that he finally became obedient. Although some angry Yeruyun didn't take their son seriously, but now he likes Lily very much when he sees her like this. So he couldn't help but say again, I will stop interacting with your friends from now on. Do you still remember Zhang Tiancheng, who was 3 years older than you in our courtyard? Now he has cultivated his moral character. Not only does he stop messing around, but he doesn't know when to follow others. Uncle Wang, who has learned medical skills and retired 2 days ago, suffered a heart attack while fishing in the mountains, but he woke up with something to prick him. Bai Lan said that Zhang Tiancheng grew up with Zhang Beihe when he was a child. The two had a very good relationship. When he was a child, the original owner was a few years younger than Zhang Tiancheng and followed him around all day long, so he raised a child. Zhang's bad habits. Zhang Tiancheng has a naughty temper, just like the original Zhang Beihe, and is even more scoundrel and despicable than Zhang Beihe. He is good at eating, drinking, whoring, and gambling. He leads a group of powerful disciples who fawn over him and dominate Highway Province. Fortunately, that kid did a lot of fighting, and suppressing others. Although Zhang Beihe was also a disaster, he only harmed himself. But Zhang Tiancheng was different. He didn't like reading since he was in junior high school, and at that time she fell in love with an English teacher who had just graduated and entered the school. After her pursuit failed, she raped her. The Zhang family took out a large sum of money but could not silence her. The female teacher failed to defend her rights and eventually jumped off the building and died. He didn't die, but he was paralyzed. Zhang Tiancheng was sent abroad by his family to avoid the limelight for a few years. He didn't return to China until the past 2 years. After returning to China, Zhang Beihe himself was already older, and he wasn't always with him like he was when he was a child. Coupled with the obstruction of Zhang's father and Zhang's mother, the relationship between the two has become so weak. Zhang Tiancheng has become more courageous after returning from abroad. He commits all kinds of crimes, but the Zhang family has nothing to do with him. Method: when many people who knew the basics talked about Zhang Tiancheng, they all shook their heads and used this kid as a negative example. Unexpectedly, he seemed to have changed overnight. When Lily thought of such a character, she felt in her heart the first thought that came to my mind was disbelief. As the saying goes, it is easy to change one's nature but hard to change one's nature. Zhang Tiancheng is a good-for-nothing idiot, almost like Zhang Beihe. If you want such a person to change suddenly, the things that harmed a girl her whole life will not make him change. Wake up, to say that a person suddenly changes in the blink of an eye, without the stimulation of any big event, and without any complete repentance, it is impossible for him to change in his bones, unless the inner core is a different person. Thinking of this, Lily's face suddenly became serious. Zhang Tiancheng's change was not normal. What's more, when Bai Lan talked about Zhang Tiancheng's medical skills, he could even bring something to someone who had a heart attack. When he woke up, the original owner clearly remembered how much Zhang Tiancheng weighed. When did he learn Chinese medicine? I didn't even graduate from junior high school earlier. After I was sent abroad, I was accompanied by a bodyguard and translator. After staying abroad for a few years, I am afraid that someone who cannot even recognize the 26 English letters will study traditional Chinese medicine? He doesn't even have enough time to play. What a joke. The possibility of Zhang Tiancheng being transported through time was extremely high. Lily couldn't help but recall the original owner's use of traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture in his later period. She couldn't help but feel a chill in her heart. She vaguely guessed whether it was the alien from another world who was about to be reborn into her body. The soul of time and space may have attached itself to Zhang Tiancheng. The soul from another world knew traditional Chinese medicine and ancient martial arts. The soul's mental strength was not as strong as hers. After failing to fight for her body, it retreated and never appeared again. Lily originally thought that the soul body should have disappeared, but now it seems that it may not necessarily have disappeared, but may have attached itself to someone else's body. After all, it was possible for Zhang Beihe to be transported back in time, and naturally it was also possible for others. Moreover, the situations of these two people were somewhat similar, both of them suddenly changed their temperaments and had good medical skills. When Lily was about to ask Bai Lan what was going on in detail, she didn't expect that she hadn't had time to open her mouth yet. There was a sound of footsteps at the door, and Yeru Yun, who was wearing a knee-length camel cashmere coat, stood at the door. When she saw Lily and her son sitting in the room, their faces were a little ugly, and their hair was dark. The straight long hair was now tied into a ponytail with a hair tie and hung down behind her. There was no makeup on her face, and her expression looked like frost. When his eyes fell in the direction of the sofa, he obviously remembered the scene when Zhang Beihe wanted to take advantage of her that night half a month ago, and his expression became even colder. Balin patted Lily's hand and turned around to say hello. Yeru Yun didn't say a word. After entering the house, she took off her shoes and changed them. Her cold look touched Lily's heart. She was a little impatient, as if someone owed her a lot of things and hadn't repaid her, and her condescending look, as if she was giving alms to herself when she came back, was annoying. I bought some fruits in the refrigerator. You can see which one you like. Wash it and eat it yourself. Balin was also a little unhappy with Yeru Yun's attitude, but this was the woman chosen by her son. Children like them. Marriage is not a trivial matter, and it is not possible for people to file for divorce easily like ordinary people. In addition, Zhang Beihe was very unfamiliar with Yeru Yun in the past, so Balin had to endure it even if she was angry. After saying hello and about to say a few more words to his son, he saw Yeru Yun quietly going upstairs without saying hello after changing his clothes. Mom, that Zhang Tiancheng. At this moment, Balin had just said something about Zhang Tiancheng. Beihe still needed to ask a few questions to confirm her suspicions, so she had no time to start a fuss with Yeru Yun at this moment. As soon as she asked Balin, there was a sound of footsteps coming upstairs like a shower. Yeru Yun, who had just gone upstairs not long ago, turned red and rushed downstairs without even changing his clothes. Gritting his teeth, he rushed towards Lily, stared at his big eyes, and said loudly, "Did you break the door lock for me?" She was so angry that her chest could not help rising and her voice was trembling, as if she had been greatly wronged. There was both disgust and resentment in her eyes. "You come in? What are you doing in the room? What on earth are you doing in there? You shameless scum!" As soon as she finished speaking, she couldn't help but take a few steps forward, raised her right hand, and raised her hand to slap Lily's face. From this action, we can see what kind of status Zhang Beihe held in her heart before. Just entering her room would give her a slap in the face. Lily's eyes suddenly turned cold when she interrupted her previous question. After falling down, she stood up and grabbed Yeru Yun's wrist, pulled her body hard and smashed her to the floor. At this time, Zhang Beihe's body is not as weak as before. Although Beihe has not become a martial arts master in more than 10 days, he is not like the original owner who has no power to fight back when facing Yeru Yun and lets her beat and scold her. Although men should not hit women, Lily is not a man at heart. She has no habit of not hitting women. As soon as Yeru-yun came back, she wanted to slap her indiscriminately. In order to avoid being slapped, she naturally had to put Yeru-yun down first. Land. With a bang sound, Yeru-yun originally thought that her slap would hit Lily's face. She even felt a little regretful that she was about to touch Lily's disgusting face and feel bitter and resentful. Unexpectedly, her palm was empty. Instead, her wrist was grabbed by Lily. Lily even pulled her hard and threw her to the ground. Her perfect face like an ice beauty showed a panicked look for a moment. Subconsciously, he reached out to grab something to maintain his balance, but his hand just hit the sofa and coffee table. After knocking over a vase on the coffee table, there were a few clang sounds, and the vase fell to the ground with her. The floor of the living room was originally carpeted, but the carpet had a lot of blood stains from the fight between the two half a month ago, so Lily asked someone to take it away. It has not been repaved until now. When Yeru-yun fell to the ground, his body hit the coffee table, and his bones seemed to fall apart. As soon as he lay on the ground, his body instinctively curled up. What is this for? Balin's face looked a little unhappy. As soon as Yeru-yun came back, she wanted to slap her son. No matter how much she could bear it, she couldn't help it. She had been reluctant to touch Jang Baehee's hair since she was a child. Unexpectedly, Yeru-yun was very courageous, not to mention that she had just thought of Yeru-yun calling her son a scum, so she suppressed her anger and asked. Yeru-yun was in pain all over now, her face turned white, tears were still rolling in her eyes, her body was trembling slightly, and she stretched out her hand to grab the coffee table several times in embarrassment, but she didn't know whether it was because she was excited or embarrassed. I couldn't get up at all for a while. He had no choice but to sit up against the coffee table. Why do you pick my lock? Yeru-yun's lips trembled, his hands clenched into fists, and his chest heaved violently. At this moment, he was trying not to cry out. His eyes were red and his brows were furrowed, but he was stubborn. He refused to reach out and wipe the tears from his face. This is my home. I can do whatever I want. I can go to any room I want. Lily threw her to the ground before sitting back on the sofa. He even crossed his legs with a bad attitude. While laying his arms flat on the sofa, he squinted his eyes at Yeru-yun, who was sitting on the ground with a miserable expression. If you don't like it, get out of here. After the Jang family settled the trouble for yes father, Yeru-yun did not. She regards herself as the daughter-in-law of the Jang family and does not want to live with Zhang's father and Zhang's mother. Therefore, the two moved out before getting married. Balin bought this villa for her son with her own money. There is only Jang Baehee's name in her name. Yeru-yun didn't contribute a penny herself, and she didn't fulfill her obligations as a wife after marriage, but she felt confident in declaring territory. Lily was not the original owner who held her up like a fairy. The idiot didn't want to listen to her now. After putting Yeru-yun down on the ground and letting out a breath of bad breath, Lily shook her legs. I'm not just picking the lock, I'm even in a bad mood. You can also pry it, how about it? Yeru-yun's body was shaking like fallen leaves in the autumn wind. She wanted to get up, but she seemed to have no strength at all. She tried hard to raise her chin proudly and stared at Lily with disdain, but she saw Lily's face showing with a sneer and sarcastic expression. The look at her seemed to reveal disdain and contempt from the heart. Yeru-yun's forced pride not only failed to irritate Lily, but she was irritated by Lily's expression. She blinked. Tears welled up from her eyes, but she pressed her lips tightly to hold it back. At this moment, she struggled to get up and was about to run out, but Balin immediately pulled her back. If you have something to say, talk it over. There are always quarrels between two couples, and their teeth and tongues will always fight no matter how close they are to each other. Originally, Balin wanted to persuade Yeru-yun to calm down first, but she didn't expect that the word husband and wife in Balin's words immediately aroused Yeru-yun. She could hardly bear to tremble all over her body, and Balin was immediately shaken. She threw her hand away, even with such force that she threw Balin onto the sofa. She had never wanted to become a couple with Zhang Beihe. She didn't want to marry a man like Zhang Beihe at all. He was not worthy of her at all. Yeruyun, she was so angry that she felt dizzy and felt that she could not stay in this place any longer. Like a wounded little beast, Yeruyun covered her mouth with one hand and grasped the skirt of her clothes tightly with the other. She didn't even have time to change her shoes, so she opened the door and rushed out. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 638. When the sound of the door slamming was heard, Balin's face turned livid. This is outrageous. Does she still have this home in her eyes? Yeruyun looked like this in front of him. If he had betrayed him, he didn't know what Yeruyun would look like. Balin was so angry that her hands and feet were cold, and she stared at the door that was thrown shut with a bang. No more words could be said. Mom, don't worry about her. Lily squinted her eyes and glanced at the direction Yeruyun left, then turned her attention back and asked, when did Zhang Tiancheng change? Where did he learn Chinese medicine? How dare you treat people casually? Balin was still a little angry, but when she heard Lily's question, she had to suppress the anger in her heart and said reluctantly. Maybe he was ignorant when he was young, but now he is obedient as he gets older. I heard that Zhang Tiancheng didn't like to go out and play around half a month ago. He stayed at home and read with Mr. Zhang. It is said that he can write calligraphy well. It's quite good. I haven't heard of when I learned Chinese medicine, but it's possible that someone hid it. Balin didn't think too much. After she finished talking about Zhang Tiancheng, she looked at Beihe again and said seriously. Xiao He, Mom and Dad's careers will be in your hands from now on. You used to be young and playful and your parents didn't care about you, but now you see that Zhang Tiancheng has stopped paying attention. It's time for you to be obedient. Outside make fewer friends, they are just looking at your parents, don't imitate the bad ones. She was deeply afraid that her son wouldn't like to hear what she said. After Balin finished speaking, she carefully looked at Lily's face. She recently heard that her son had been messing around with others in the past 6 months, and she was very worried about this situation. At this time, Lily asked about Zhang Tiancheng. Zhang Tiancheng used to be more mischievous than Zhang Beihe. Fights were commonplace, and for many years, no woman around him had behaved like this. He even did a lot of dirty things behind his back, which made the Zhang family worried. But now Zhang Tiancheng suddenly turned around, which made the Zhang family both surprised and happy. It also made Zhang's father and Zhang's mother both envious and jealous, so Bailan reminded Lily when she asked about Zhang Tiancheng. Mom, I know it in my heart. Lily couldn't help laughing when she heard that Zhang Tiancheng didn't like to go out and mess around in the past half month. At this moment, she was almost sure that Zhang Tiancheng, who was both good at medicine and writing calligraphy, couldn't help but laugh. Tiancheng was the soul that traveled through Zhang Beihe's body in the plot. This time, because he came first, he failed to snatch Zhang Beihe's body. So he possessed another unlucky guy. Balin was also happy to hear that Lily was no longer like the original Zhang Beihe, and would get furious whenever she mentioned these issues. She held Lily and talked for a while, until she finally answered the phone and got up to go back. Before leaving, Balin saw the pair of boots lying at the door and sighed, unable to speak. But in the end he said nothing more and left with a frown on his face. Knowing the existence of Zhang Tiancheng, Lily was secretly vigilant. For 5 or 6 days in a row, she spent more time practicing physical training than before. The toxins in her body had been almost eliminated by her, and her body's drug addiction was eliminated. However, Lily herself has a strong willpower, so the drug addiction caused by the original owner has been completely eliminated by this time. It has been more than 20 days since I practiced 9 yang magical skills in conjunction with physical training. as her force and attribute values increase after multiple missions. Coupled with the effect of the mark given to her by Li Yangzi, Lily practiced martial arts very quickly. In a short period of time, her body's muscles and veins had been broadened a lot, and a small amount of spiritual energy was stored in it. Although this little spiritual energy will not work if something really happens, it can achieve this result in a short time. Lily was already very satisfied. She practiced martial arts for a long time in the morning, and made lunch with the ingredients Bailanti brought last time. During this time, Lily was busy eliminating toxin residues from her body. She usually tried to save time as much as possible without going out. At this moment, the refrigerator it was already empty. Thinking that there was nothing to eat in the evening, Lily went out in the afternoon and drove to the supermarket to buy enough food to last for about a week. When she drove back, she found that there were still several people standing in front of her house. Outside, Lily drove the car into the garage and came down with her things. Several people at the door turned their heads when they heard the noise of the car. Yeruyun, who was surrounded by Yes father, Yes mother, and others, saw Lily mentioning when he came back with 2 large bags of things. He frowned subconsciously. The door had been opened at this moment. Yeruyun was a little surprised when he saw what Lily was carrying. Then a sarcastic look flashed in his eyes. Apparently he thought Lily was putting on a show. Next to him, Yeruyu murmured softly. The sun is really shining in the west, and the ignorant libertine can actually buy things. Humph. Dogs can't change their habit of eating shit, so they're just pretending to show it to your sister. Father Yes snorted coldly when he heard his daughter's words, and glared at Lily fiercely. Although he was far away, Father Ye was speaking. Her voice was out of control, and Lily was now very sharp, so she could still clearly hear the conversation between the 2 father and daughter. Her face suddenly turned cold. When she was walking towards the door carrying her things, Yeruyun was already there. After opening the door, the Ye family members entered the house one after another. In front of Lily, Yerufeng, who was walking at the end, stuck out his tongue in disgust at her, and locked the door again with a bang. Lily frowned, took out the key and opened the door. In the room, Yes family was sitting on the sofa. Yeruyun had just gone upstairs, and Lily put the things on the ground. What are you doing here? Father Yes slapped the coffee table hard, grabbed something and threw it at Lily, and said sternly, I want to take my daughter back to the Ye family. You little beast, how dare you beat my daughter, Ruyun? If you don't tell me, I don't know that she has suffered so many grievances here. This life is over, let Zhang Yude come to me. Although I, Mr. Ye, are not talented, I am not afraid of his surname Zhang. He held the hand, it was a beautiful crystal swan ashtray. Lily did not smoke after entering the mission, and only used this thing as a decoration. When the crystal ashtray came, it did not hit Lily, but was smashed against the wall. A crisp sound of clang came, and it fell to pieces and fell to the ground with a clang. At this moment, Yes father was so angry that his face was green, and the Ye family was deeply afraid that something might happen to him. After rubbing his chest and slapping his back, Yerufeng said in a strange way. When you first wanted to marry my sister, you knelt on the ground and begged like a dog. Now that you have married me, you dare to beat my sister. You Zhang family are not good people. The whole family unites to bully others. He also, although he hated Lily for taking back the original card in his hand, Yes father said that he had been doing business. But since the Ye family lost a lot of money 2 years ago, the situation has become worse than before. Father Ye is not a good businessman. He has a hot temper and can easily offend others. In the past 2 years, the Ye family has relied on the support of his in-laws. Although Father Ye treats his children well, the wealth of the Ye family is there. No matter how much Father Ye loves his children, he cannot do as much as Balin dotes on Zhang Beihe. A lot of pocket money was put into his card every month. In order to express his love for Yeryun and please his brother-in-law and sister-in-law, Jang Bae-hee handed over his 2 bank cards. The twins were exactly the same. At a face-saving age, with Jang Bae-hee's bank card in hand, whether he is going out to eat or play. I have never been short of money, and I have never been worried about pocket money. The pocket money given by Yes father was not enough. Anyway, he had a bank card given by Jang Bae-hee, but he had kept this card in his hand for 2 years. In name, this bank the card belongs to Jang Bae-hee, but it's actually the twins using it. In the hearts of the brother and sister, they actually thought that the card already belonged to them. Now Lily Len might as well ask for the card back. Firstly, the 2 of them were not used to the lack of money. Secondly, they felt as if their belongings had been taken away by Lily. So he was very resentful towards her. In addition, the Ye family has always believed that Yeryun suffered a loss by marrying Jang Bae-hee. In their hearts, Yeryun is like a rose stuck in a pile of dung. They originally thought that Jang Bae-hee was not worthy of Yeryun. The original owner wanted to please Yeryun. The behavior of the family seems to them to be justified. His sister's marriage to Jang Bae-hee was the manifestation of his Jang family's ancestors, and it was Jang Bae-hee's blessing. Now that Lily dared not to please her, the twins were naturally even more unhappy. They were even angrier than Yeryun about this matter. I came back to get clothes. Don't worry, I won't ask for anything from your Jang family. Yeryun raised her chin and stood at the stairs staring down at Lily, her face full of indescribable emotions. Although Lily has changed during this period, in Yeryun's view, all this must be a trick played by Lily to show herself and persuade her to change her mind. Therefore, she not only did not find it strange, on the contrary, I looked down upon Lily more and more. Seeing her appearance, Lily waved to her, "Come down." When Yeryun heard her say this, her beautiful face turned even colder. "I don't want to talk to you more. Today Come down, I'll collect the clothes for you." She seemed to want to show her firm attitude, but Lily was impatient to say more to her, so she interrupted her words directly. Yeryun saw the cold look on Lily's face. She couldn't help but froze. Her originally fair face suddenly turned red, her jade-like teeth bit her lower lip, and she stepped hard down the stairs in shame and anger. Lily stuffed the things into the refrigerator, and Yeryun clenched his hands into fists and stood by the stairs staring at her back. The Ye family did not expect that Jang Bae-hee would seem to be a different person after not seeing each other for a while, and they were all a little surprised, but Yes father refused to believe that a person suddenly changed like this. At this time, he still thought that Lily was pretending, so seeing Lily stuffing things into the refrigerator, Yes father only thought that she was stalling for time and tolerated it. He couldn't help but snorted coldly. "Don't waste time thinking of a solution, Ryun won't stay. Clean up the floor, and I will send a quotation for this crystal swan to Yes family." Lily put the things back in the refrigerator, took out a bottle of water, unscrewed the cap and took a sip first, and saw the Ye family's ugly expression. With a look on her face, she put the water on the table beside her and strode upstairs. When she passed by Yeryun, the breeze brought by her body made her hair float up, but Lily didn't look at it. Yeryun glanced at her abnormal behavior and Yeryun subconsciously looked at her back and snorted in embarrassment. Yeryun doesn't have many things of her own. Most of the jewelry in her room was purchased by Balin for her after the marriage. Because this marriage is a shame for the Ye family, although others may think that Yeryun he climbed a high branch, but the Ye family didn't take it seriously. On the contrary, he felt very humiliated and was not enthusiastic about his daughter marrying Jang Bae-hee. Therefore, in addition to being full of injustice for his daughter, Yes father did not buy any dowry for Yeryun. When Yeryun came here, he only brought a few changes of clothes, and everything was arranged by Balin. At this time, Lily wanted to collect her clothes, so naturally she would not collect these jewelry for her. She just found a few clothes that Yeryun had collected from her parents' house in the dressing room, and found a plastic bag to put them in for her. These pieces of clothing were collected by Yeruyun with great care, but in the past 2 years, because of her marriage to Jang Bae-hee, each brand would send many limited edition clothing styles for the season, even underwear. Pants all come from a specific brand, and Yeruyun has a good taste and knows how to wear clothes to show off his best temperament, so he usually looks good with matching clothes. Although the clothes brought by the Ye family were also branded, it was obvious that the strength of the Ye family could not be compared with that of the Jang family. Therefore, the clothes she wore these years were actually bought for her by Zhang's mother Balin. The Ye family is now very aggressive and unfriendly. Yerufeng's actions of closing the door just now and Ye's father's ferocious look make Lily have no good impression of the Ye family. Naturally, she will not save face for Yeruyun at this time, and will only the clothes she wore into the Ye family 2 years ago were packed together. Even the underwear and the pair of high heels that he had worn were stuffed inside. He tied the bag in a knot, turned around and left the room and went downstairs, throwing the things in front of Yeruyun. What do you mean? If Yeruyun hadn't given in quickly, this bag of things would have hit her in the face. Although she was not hit, she was frightened and turned pale. She gave in now. If she hadn't grabbed it tightly, she was afraid that she would fall to the ground if she caught the large potted plant placed next to the stairs, but she did not fall. But I thought of the ugly behavior I had just avoided. Yeruyun was angry and furious in his heart, and asked with a frown on his face. The Ye family saw that Lily dared to attack Yeruyun in front of him. The angry father Ye immediately rolled up his sleeves and showed his arms. Come. Mother Ye was deeply afraid that something might happen to him due to his old age, so she quickly stopped him. The Ye family all glared at Lily. Learn from good people, and learn from monsters. Your dad dares to throw things at my house. Now I am just learning from him. Didn't Miss Ye always dislike me for not learning from good people? Now I am learning well. Why are you so angry? Do you think your dad is not a good person and I shouldn't learn from him? Lily threw the things down, then put her hands in her pockets and went downstairs. Her words made Father Ye stamp his feet in anger and burst out of his mouth. Yeruyun was speechless as he cursed words such as little beast back and forth. She took a deep breath and curled her lips when she saw the small bag of things in front of her, with a sarcastic look on her face. Lily said she went up to pack things for her, but in the end she was afraid that she would finish packing and leave. When she stopped coming back, he went up and packed a few clothes for her so quickly, probably because he wanted her to go back to her parents' house to stay for a few days. From Yeruyun's point of view, Lily's sudden change of attitude was probably someone who gave her the idea behind her back and deliberately wanted to use this method to attract her attention. She originally wanted to say that she was really tired and didn't want to go anymore. After being with Jang Bae-hee, she didn't want her life to be ruined by such an incompetent and useless man, but when she thought about her father and the Ye family, she also had 2 younger siblings who were studying, and her mother had been a housewife all her life without a job. The Ye family still had debts to pay off, and she still needed to rely on the Jang family for help, so she swallowed her words again, but her face showed a bit of pity and helplessness for her poor life experience. These are the luggage you brought when you married into the Jang family. Take them away. Don't come here again. I don't want to see your face. Miss Ye. Lily pulled up a chair and sat down, kicking her toes and pointing. He picked up the package on the ground and said, "Hand over the key by the way. You know I sometimes don't welcome uninvited guests." In the past, Jang Bae-hee would be expelled by the Ye family when he went to the Ye family. But every time the Ye family came to Jang Bae-hee to negotiate with him because of Yeruyun's affairs, the situation would be completely reversed. Jang Bae-hee would treating the Ye family as uncles. Not only did they not dare to chase him away like the Ye family did, but they also wanted to wait on him with good smoke, wine, food, and good temper. Yeruyun originally thought that Lily's move was just to retreat in order to advance, but he didn't expect Lily actually asked her to hand over the key. She was a little confused for a moment. She subconsciously raised her head and stared at Lily, with a bit of stubbornness on her beautiful face. What do you mean? Yeruyun took a deep breath and tightened her palms. She reached out to pick up the things that were thrown to the ground. The feeling of being humiliated made her body tremble uncontrollably. Lily heard her ask. I couldn't help but laugh. Don't understand? Miss Yeah, I let you leave. Her attitude, which was as complete as the original owner's, made even the Ye family unable to react. Yes, mother looked at her husband with a somewhat bewildered look. Yes, father was also stunned, and Lily patted her pants impatiently and picked out brows. Why don't you get out? She doesn't say bad words like the Ye family in the plot, but her attitude is even worse than that of the Ye family in the past. He just wants to make these people also feel the shame of being kicked out. The original owner had held them too high in the past. It was not Zhang Beihe who forced Yeruyun to marry into the Zhang family. She married her for Yes father. It was obvious that she was getting married, but in the end, these people made it seem like the daughter had suffered a huge loss. It was the original owner's business if he was willing to tolerate it at first, but now Lily is unwilling to tolerate it. Without Zhang Beihe's connivance, who is the Ye family? Do you need me to call for security? The smile on Lily's face dropped, and she reached out to take out the mobile phone from her pocket. Yeruyun seemed to have come back to her senses. She gritted her teeth and took out her belongings with hatred. When I mentioned it, I felt a little embarrassed and a little angry. I will leave, she said in a serious tone, as if to express her determination. I just hope you remember what you said today and don't pester me again in the future. At this moment, Yeruyun didn't know that she was relieved. She was really unwilling to marry such a playboy after 2 years of marriage, and she always felt like she was being tied up. At this moment, Lily finally said to let go. She left, like a free bird, but the person who asked her to leave first was Lily. Yeruyun seemed to be kicked out. She was a little unwilling to think about it, although this time tried his best to maintain a cold and arrogant demeanor, but there was inevitably a sense of embarrassment in his expression. Seeing the Ye family members snorting and glaring at her before leaving one after another, Lily couldn't help but laugh. Yeruyun still hasn't seen the situation clearly yet. The marriage between her and Zhang Beihe was the result of her request from Zhang Beihe. Hey, it's not that Zhang Beihe wanted anything from her. At most, Zhang Beihe just took a fancy to her beauty. But no matter how much he coveted her beauty, after 2 years of marriage, he had done a lot of things for the Ye family and failed to do so. Yeruyun took it into her mouth, and it was Zhang Beihe who really deserved to cry after suffering the loss. Now Lily has no requirements for Yeruyun, and does not care about her beauty. Yeruyun has no effect on her, so naturally she can't talk about it. Regret. After closing the door and seeing the pile of crystal fragments in the house that had not been cleaned up, Lily cleaned them up herself, but later added a labor cleaning fee to the bill sent to the Ye family. Lily no longer cared about how Yeruyun felt when she received the bill. She focused entirely on practicing martial arts until 2 months later, a call came into her mobile phone. Mr. Zhang, your credit card bill last month is 3 days overdue. The staff member who called was a little cautious when speaking. Lily thought he was a liar at first, but after a final interrogation, he found out that it was indeed her credit card bill. More than a year ago, a colleague of Yeruyun's radio station had a husband who worked in a bank. He had to deal with card processing every month. At that time, the colleague thought of Yeruyun and knew that her family was well off and her husband was from Highway province. The prince, therefore, got close to Yeruyun and begged her to help him apply for 2 credit cards. Although Yeruyun had a cold personality and was as cold as frost when facing Zhang Beihe, she just didn't know how to approach others in the unit. Someone asked her to, she was too embarrassed to refuse when she was doing something, so she agreed and mentioned it to Zhang Beihe after returning home. To be continued. Canon Fodder strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 639. At that time, Zhang Beihe agreed to the matter without hesitation in order to please Yeruyun. In the end, Yeruyun and him each applied for a credit card. Yeruyun's credit card limit was slightly smaller, but because of Zhang Beihe's to celebrate his parents' relationship, he got a large platinum card with an overdraft of millions. This money sounds like a lot of money, but because Balin comes from a wealthy family and has a company run by his subordinates, the amount of pocket money he gives Zhang Beihe every month is actually more than this. A credit card that is useful to others is basically useless to Zhang Beihe. It's useless. He doesn't need to pay when he goes out to eat. He just needs to sign and someone will go to Balin to settle the bill at the end of the month. After applying for the credit card, he didn't ask about it. He just left it at Yeruyun's place. Yeruyun's daily necessities were provided by the Zhang family. After all, she didn't have much to spend money on, so she didn't actually open or use these two credit cards for more than a year. At this moment, Lily passed by the credit card company and was reminded of this matter. She immediately gritted her teeth and motioned to the person to declare to her what had been swiped on the credit card. This card has never passed through her hands and has always been kept by Yeruyun. It is obvious who has swiped the money in it. Although the bank staff sounded calm to her, it was not good to deal with such a person who had a good reputation in the past and had a very short temper. I was still a little scared to deal with the young master, so when I heard Lily's instructions, my voice trembled slightly and I asked Lily to wait for a while, and then quickly quoted a list of prices. Lily originally speculated that Yeruyun used his credit card to cash out to solve Yes Father's troubles. After all, Yes Father's company had already encountered problems in the plot, and in the end it was Yeruyun who returned to Zhang Beihe's home. Then a series of good things happened with the time travel Zhang Beihe, and finally Zhang Beihe captured her heart and solved her trouble. But this time Lily didn't coax Yeruyun at all. Instead, she kicked her out twice. She also doesn't like the Ye family, so the relationship with the Ye family is very bad. It is naturally impossible for Yeruyun to find Zhang's father from her to solve the Ye family's troubles. Lily had not thought about the credit card before, and she originally thought that Yeruyun would also think of other ways. As a result, the credit card company called and said that he had maxed out the credit card 2 months ago. After the bank found out Zhang Beihe's identity through customer information, it increased the credit card limit to 160 last month. 100,000, and the remaining 600,000 were paid out last month, but they have never been paid back. The bank didn't know whether to continue to open the limit, and even speculated whether the prince was seriously short of money recently, so he asked a clerk to come over and find out more. Listening to the consumption amounts and payments reported by the bank staff on the phone, Lily couldn't believe her ears. She paused for a moment, then put the phone to her other ear. "What did you say?" Mr. Zhang, on the afternoon of December 23, hearing Lily's question, the bank staff quickly repeated what he just said, but Lily interrupted him. "Just tell me where the brush is, no need to tell me the time." Yes, around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It shows that Mr. Zhang spent 150,000 at a designated viewing station. Lily didn't know what the fixed click reading station the staff member was talking about. She asked the person to wait for a while, then she found a computer at home and turned it on. As soon as she entered the website the person mentioned just now, she displayed the largest novel reading website in China. Lily Zhangjiang was confused at the moment, so she asked the staff for her username to recharge on the website. Originally, these were customer privacy information and should not be disclosed, but firstly, Lily's identity is different. Secondly, the recharged credit card originally belonged to Lily. So the staff member told Lily some information, and Lily hung up the phone, and easily used the information to find out the website users who used their credit cards to recharge. The username of this recharged account is CloudWalk, and the avatar looks like a cartoon character on the website. The information is slightly filled in, and the gender is female. She is 23 years old and lives in Weihai. In the column of marriage history, she filled in the word unmarried regarding this person named Walking in the Clouds. Lily did not make any second guesses except Yeruyun. Yeruyun was better than the original owner, 1 year older. When the original owner was a freshman, she happened to be a sophomore, and Walking in the Clouds was the pinion of her mailbox. During the time Zhang Beihe chased her, he found out a lot of information about her interests. Clearly, I first called this website and identified myself as Cloudwalk. I recently discovered that there seemed to be something unusual about my account, and after reporting my usual recharge credit card number, I verified my identity. The website attaches great importance to this, so the recent consumption records of Cloudwalk were retrieved and sent to the mailbox she left. When seeing these consumption records, Lily couldn't help but sneered. Since October, Yeruyun has been chasing a novel called The Medical God of the Tang Dynasty Travels to Modern Times. She has been recharging since mid-October. She was quite sensible at the beginning, but she only recharged a few thousand at most. As a TV station staff member with an annual salary of more than 100,000 yuan, it would be no problem for her to afford such consumption. But she started to go crazy in late October. She started to recharge 5,000 yuan, and later started to recharge 50,000 yuan. In early November, she even jumped directly from a 5-digit recharge to a 6-digit recharge. The most recent recharge was at 5,000 yuan. Days ago, she paid 600,000 yuan, and she rewarded all the money to the author named Lanlian Lay Master, and she rewarded as much as 3 to 4 million. After finding the name of this novel and the name of the author, Lily searched for this novel again. The novel happened to be uploaded from the beginning of October and became the focus of the website with an incredible update rate of more than 100,000 words per day. The author of Tao Xiao is affectionately called the conscience of the industry by readers. Although he is a newcomer, he has a strong update volume, updating 100,000 words every day, and sometimes even updating 200,000 or 300,000 words, which lasts for 2 months. After a while, it climbed to the top of the website's list of great gods. Many readers worshipped this powerful figure, and there were also many die-hard fans. Some of the comments even included experts who claimed to be examiners, saying that it was the author's knowledge of the Tang dynasty. The understanding is simply a guide to ancient and modern times, which is richer and more comprehensive than the information in the museum. From the perspective of the Tang dynasty described by the author himself seems to have lived in the Tang dynasty. Many experts and professors have become him fans. And his number one fan is Walking in the Clouds, who has rewarded 4 million real coins with great force, and has become a well-deserved sister in the eyes of many people. Many people left messages on the novel page jokingly saying, the author and Yuner are about the same age, and they live in the same city, and the man is talented and the woman is rich and maybe even good-looking. They are both unmarried. They are a perfect match. Below these messages there are also the not angry, but coquettish comments from Wandering in the Cloud and the teasing comments from Lanlian Jushi. Every time Lanlian Jushi leaves a message, Wandering in the Cloud will definitely answer every one of them positively. She was not angry at these people's random jokes, and occasionally made a few shy expressions. Lily went to check this Lanlian layman, and sure enough, she found that this person was male, 25 years old, and also lived in Highway Province. Most importantly, his name was filled in his real information, Zhang Tiancheng. Seeing all this, Lily couldn't help but almost laughed. This was truly a bad fate. She hadn't found Zhang Tiancheng yet, and she knew that the soul possessing Zhang Tiancheng's body would be with Yeruyun in the plot, but she didn't expect it. Zhang Tiancheng didn't possess Zhang Beihe. He got Yeruyun's heart first, but the process was changed in a different way, but the ending was still the same. Because of a credit card phone call, Bei accidentally found out about the relationship between Zhang Tiancheng and Yeruyun, and she knew the main thing. She coaxed the author to be with Walking in the Clouds because of the comments on the website. He sneered twice when he left a message, and then closed the computer. Yeruyun used to pretend to be a chaste saint in front of Zhang Bei, as unattainable as the clouds in the sky, but he didn't expect that a random person on the internet would. She was not angry when someone she knew was teasing her. Lily stretched out her hand to support her notebook, clasping her palms to support her chin. The current situation of the Ye family was already very dangerous. Ye's father was not good at business, and Yeruyun pretended to be a rich man. She might not care if it was hundreds of thousands for giving someone so many millions, but the money was obviously beyond what she could afford, and she kept shouting, "I don't want anything from Zhang Bei, as noble as a goddess." In order to chase stars, she secretly maxed out Zhang Bei's credit card. Based on her personality, if she could pay it back, it wouldn't have to drag on for 2 months. In the past 2 months, people from the credit card company called. It was obvious that Yeruyun could not pay it back now. She dared to swipe her card to pay it back, but she couldn't. When the phone rang, Lily became a little impatient when she thought of this person. She was about to call Yeruyun's mobile phone, but she didn't expect that as soon as she picked up the phone and before she could call, Balin's phone number came over. As soon as Bei connected the phone and called her, Balin said with some joy, "Xiao He, has Ruyun gone back today? She came to our place tonight, saying that there was some problem with the Ye family's business, and she hoped that I could give 50 million to help the Ye family tide over the difficulties. She promised her mother, I will treat you well and live with you in the future, knowing that his son likes Yeruyun. Balin doesn't care about money. If the problem can be solved with money, it won't be a problem for Balin. If Yeruyun really cares about herself, for the sake of being sincere to the Ye family, Balin would be satisfied if she would treat her son sincerely and teach him to change his ways." To be continued. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan Erwr. Chapter 640. Zhang Bei didn't like to listen to his parents nagging in the past, but he was willing to listen to Yeruyun's words. But in the past, Yeruyun ignored him and even kept irritating him. Although Balin was dissatisfied, she still wanted to do it for her son's sake. "I have endured it all, but this time is different. This time Yeruyun has been back to her parents' home for several months. What is the identity of the Zhang family? Governor Zhang's daughter-in-law has been living in her parents' home for a long time, and she is separated from Zhang Bei. Even if the news reporters dare not write it casually, there are still many people who secretly guessed that they were watching the joke. Recently, Balin and Zhang's father wanted to ask Lily what was going on several times, but they endured it. They didn't expect this. One time, Yeruyun took the initiative to come to the door and said that he promised to move back to the couple's home and live happily with Lily in the future. Balin was so happy that she couldn't help but call Lily to report the news. She originally wanted to make her son happy, but she didn't expect Lily's head to explode when she heard this. "Mom, did you give her the money? The Ye family is indeed in difficulty recently. Ye's father is not good at investing but is anxious to make money, so the money was put into a project, and this project was stopped indefinitely due to urban reform. I don't know why. He could only resume work at that time, so naturally the money was wasted. He urgently needed money to fill this hole. He needed about 30 million, but there was a big difference between 30 million and 50 million. Lily thought of Yeruyun giving Zhang Tianquan's novel reward was 4 million yuan, so it was not difficult to guess what she was going to do with an extra 20 million yuan. Yeruyun was so star-chasing that she went crazy. "Here you go, Mom only wants you to have a son, and everything from now on will be given to you." If Yeruyun can live a good life with you. Bailan actually doesn't ask for much. She only hopes that her son will be well. If Yeruyun can be good to her son, and everything they do as a couple from now on will belong to the younger generation. There's nothing wrong with giving it to them in advance. Hearing this, Lily couldn't help but interrupt Balin. When did she leave? I came here in the evening. I asked her to stay for dinner and I told you to call you. She also refused and said she wanted to go back in a hurry. Bailan couldn't help but tensed up when she heard Lily's serious voice. Hasn't she gone back yet? Zhang's father is a strict person. Regardless of whether he works overtime or not, the Zhang family's 3 meals a day are very fixed. Dinner should be ready around 6:30. If Balin leaves Yeruyun down for dinner, then it means that Yeruyun the time to go to Zhang's house is before 6:30. It was almost 9 o'clock now. Yeruyun took the money and left Zhang's house for more than 2 hours. Lily calculated the time in her mind. Mom, did you transfer the money to her card? I transferred the money to her card. Xiaohe, did you and her quarrel again? Balin sensed something was wrong at this moment and couldn't help but ask. Lily sighed silently. She and Yeruyun didn't just quarrel, but Zhang Beihi's parents were worried about him. Because the original owner used to be as ignorant as a willful child, so after the quarrel, Balin had a lot of feelings for Yeruyun after they got married. She was dissatisfied, but she endured it. She just hoped that he would make it less difficult for her and that she could treat her son better. Unfortunately, the parents' wishes were destined to fail. She and I haven't even seen each other recently. Why are we quarreling? But Mom, I can't give her any money in the future. What kind of thing is she? She acts like a chaste saint all day long, and when she asks for money, she acts like a goddess from the 9 heavens. Give her a little color and push the things on her nose and face. Lily suppressed the thoughts in her heart and imitated the original owner's tone. Pretending to be indignant, she cursed, "What's the bank's phone number? Let me see if she has cashed the money. Your father-in-law's business has indeed been having problems recently. I don't care if you call the bank and ask the bank, but then don't go home and say that your mother won't help your wife." After Bailan heard what Baihi said, she just took these 2 things seriously. The couple had an quarrel, but no matter how they quarreled in the past, Zhang Beihi never scolded Yeruyun in front of her. This time, he actually scolded Yeruyun. It can be seen that the 2 people were quarreling fiercely. Balin took out the phone number of the bank. After reporting it to Lily, Lily responded, "I know what's going on." After saying that, she hung up the phone. For more than 2 hours, Yeruyun left Zhang's house without even eating. Bank transfers take a while. Lily originally thought that Yeruyun would transfer the money during this period, but she didn't expect that she would make a phone call. When she called the bank to inquire, she discovered that the money had arrived in Yeruyun's account half an hour ago, but she did not move it. Lily first asked the bank to freeze the amount, and then dialed Yeruyun's phone number. As soon as the call was dialed, it showed that the call was in progress. Lily took the landline at home and called again. This time Yeruyun's cell phone rang, but she did not answer it. Instead, she cut off the call. When she called again, the phone number the signal was busy. Apparently she also added the landline number to the blacklist. She put the landline phone back with a sneer. Lily was no longer wasting her efforts. She had someone freeze Yeruyun's money anyway. She was not the one who would be anxious later. It was too late now and had no time to trouble Yeruyun. Lily was going to settle accounts with Yeruyun early tomorrow morning. Unexpectedly, before waiting until the next day, around 11 o'clock at night, Lily had just finished practicing physical skills, took a bath and was about to go to bed, when someone knocked hard on the door downstairs, and with the sound of knocking on the door, Yeruyun's shouts also sounded. "Zhang Beihi, come out." At this moment, Yeruyun was almost going crazy. Recently, After Zhang Beihe planned to insult her and she moved out of the villa and returned to the family in anger, she felt as if she had returned to a safe place from the swamp of despair. These days Lily no longer pestering her, she seemed to have returned to her original single period, and there was one less person to pester her. She was very happy at first, but she didn't expect that although her mind was free after leaving Zhang Beihe, but Yeruyun also felt a lot of inconveniences. The first and most important thing was that she didn't have enough money. Although she gets a lot of salary every year when she joins the provincial TV station, what kind of family can she marry into? Whether she was eating, drinking, or shopping, she never looked at the prices. Clothes were delivered by major fashion brands every season. She never wore the same thing every day. But after moving from Zhang Beihe's house, these clothes naturally, the fashion brand would not send her clothes to the family. First, she had to find a way to put them on herself. Then, a few months ago, she was accidentally introduced to a book called Tang Dynasty on the internet. The name of this novel is very vulgar, but after reading the update, she was impressed by the author's diligence. He updated more than 100,000 words a day. This dedicated spirit made her feel good, but she didn't expect it. After reading it, she was deeply fascinated by the author. The author's words and sentences are very novel and unique, with a natural and unpretentious style. The customs and sentiments of the Tang dynasty can be easily copied, and there are many medical terms and a lot of traditional Chinese medicine health knowledge, and even many real traditional Chinese medicine practitioners. They all marveled at it. It was obvious that the author was not just making it up, but had real ability. Such a great literary figure was diligent and well educated in literature. He was also very proficient in Chinese medicine. Yeruyun quickly became obsessed with this novel after reading it. The author, especially when she found out that the author was only 25 years old and unmarried, she began to admire the author named Zhang Tiancheng. This is the Prince Charming she imagined in her heart. From the lines, it can be seen that the author is unrestrained and unrestrained, talented, young, and knowledgeable. And most importantly, he is about the same age as her and unmarried. Compared with Zhang Beihe, this Zhang Tiancheng is as good as Zhang Beihe. Zhang Beihe is simply unworthy of carrying someone else's shoes. When she thinks about being married to Zhang Beihe, she feels as disgusted as if she had eaten a cockroach. Fortunately, she was still in Wanbai's body, so Yeruyun had some fantasies and admiration for Zhang Tiancheng in her heart, so she started her reward journey every day. At the beginning, when tens of thousands of dollars were given out as rewards that smelled like copper, she didn't take it seriously. After all, money is a rich thing, and literary talent is a priceless treasure. But later on, this novel it became more and more exciting, and her fascination with Zhang Tiancheng became deeper, so she rewarded more and recharged more money. The money she had saved for 2 years had been spent unknowingly. When the last 2 credit cards had been maxed out, Yeruyun suddenly realized that he owed so much money without knowing it. But she did not regret it. The great writer deserved better, not to mention that Zhang Tiancheng was so diligent. But the situation of the family needed her to improve. As the eldest sister, she had to do her part, and the credit card bill also needed to be paid. She thought about it. The only people she could rely on were the Zhang family. Although Yeruyun felt disgusted from the bottom of her heart by begging the Zhang family, she still went to Balin. Zhang Beihe, Yeruyun downstairs slapped the door like crazy. It was getting late now, but many people living in the community here were young people, most of them were like the original Zhang Beihe. After getting married, they moved out from home and lived alone. Many young people had nightlife, and the distance between each villa was far away. Therefore, no one came out to protest Yeruyun's shouting. Lily heard Yeruyun's when he shouted, there was a look of boredom in his eyes, and he went downstairs and opened the door. As soon as the door opened, Yeruyun rushed in, raised the leather bag in his hand, and threw it at Lily's head and face. Lily grabbed the bag and without thinking, she raised her hand and slapped Yeru-yun on the face. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 641. There was a crisp sound of pop, and Yeru-yun's slender body was hit so hard that she staggered. She was unsteady and fell 2 steps to the side, and finally sat down on the ground. She lowered her head and subconsciously he reached out and covered his face, his long black hair covering his face. His body was trembling so hard that he couldn't even lift his head. What's the fuss about? Lily knew her own strength well. Although she didn't slap Yeru-yun with all her strength this time, Yeru-yun would definitely not feel comfortable with this slap. Although men don't hit women, he was not a real man and would not stand stupidly and let Yeru-yun smash the bag into his face, so he felt no guilt at all for hitting Yeru-yun. Instead, he crossed his arms and asked her condescendingly. Last time when Yeru-yun wanted to slap Bailan in front of her, although Lily put her down on the ground at that time, Yeru-yun later kept shouting that Lily had beaten her, but that time it was not a real slap. This time he was the one who slapped her. During the 2 years that Zhang Beihe pursued Yeru-yun, and later when they got married, Zhang Beihe always held Yeru-yun in his palm and never touched her finger. On the contrary, it was Yeru-yun who showed no mercy to the original owner. This time Lily hit Yeru-yun, which was the first time in her life that the original owner had known her. Yeru-yun could not believe what was happening in front of her, and she subconsciously reached out to cover her. His face and body were trembling, but he couldn't say a word. She didn't speak, but Lily sneered twice, stretched out her hand to grab Yeru-yun's arm, and dragged her up. Then Yeru-yun screamed and shouted, "Let me go! Let me go!" There was a cry in her voice. She kicked her feet in high heels hard and tried to claw at Lily with her fingernails, which made her upset. Lily caught her hand and folded it back. There were 2 crisp sounds of click. Yeru-yun's face instantly turned as pale as snow, and her palms hung down feebly. Lily dislocated her wrist, leaving her unable to do anything, and glanced at her feet with ill intentions. At this moment, she wished she could take off her high heels and hit her on the head several times. Yeru-yun was holding back her screams and moans at this time. Her face was burning with pain, and her wrists started to hurt and then went cold and numb. Lily dragged her towards the sofa in the living room. She seemed to suddenly remember something. He started struggling again. "Let me go, you beast. I will die. If you dare to touch me, I will die with you." She obviously remembered what Zhang Beihe was planning to do to her when she was drunk. Now thinking that Lily also wanted to insult her, she cried and screamed while finishing her words. At the same time, he shouted loudly, "Help, we are killing people." In the past, she was not willing to commit herself to a libertine like Zhang Beihe, who had always maintained a pure body. Now she had other men in her heart, and she was not willing to have her body defiled by Lily. Yeru-yun screamed and shouted a few times. In other words, her wrist was dislocated by Lily at this moment, so no matter how hard she struggled, she couldn't escape from Lily's hand. Yeru-yun felt desperate. She burst into tears. Suddenly her cheek muscles twitched, and when Lily threw her next to the sofa, there was a lot of blood at the corner of her mouth. There was a determined look of death on her face, and Lily looked at her with a half-smile. He stretched out his legs and kicked her to signal her not to block the way. While picking up the phone on the coffee table and dialing the family's number, Lily said directly, "Come pick up the family's junk." Yeru-yun's body was still shaking violently. She was surprised when she heard Lily's words. Originally, she was huddled in the corner of the sofa, staring at Lily with a look of resentment and vigilance, but she didn't expect that Lily didn't push her down on the sofa. Instead she made a phone call. Yeru-yun was stunned, and subconsciously opened her mouth to breathe. She opened her mouth, and a lot of blood poured out of her mouth. Lily glanced at her, and she seemed to have come back to her senses. with a painful and twisted look of regret on his face. Hit, 12, Yeru-yun struggled to stand up, but her hands were dislocated. Now she couldn't use the strength at all to stand up. She was too frightened just now, and now her legs she was still too weak to stand up. Her mouth was slurred and she didn't know what she was saying. More and more blood was flowing from her mouth, and tears were dripping down like broken beads. She struggled to say a few words. Seeing Lily sitting without moving, her tears flowed more quickly, and she pointed at the phone with her chin raised. 120. Fight. She spoke calmly just now, but now her speech became a problem. Seeing the blood in her mouth, Lily couldn't help but twitch the corners of her mouth. You bit your tongue? Are you going to bite your tongue and commit suicide? Just now, Yeru-yun shouted that she would die. If he touched her, she would die with him. Lily did not take her words to heart at first, because in Lily's heart, although she had become a man during this mission, but she was still a woman at heart, and she would never do anything to Yeru-yun no matter what, so she never thought that Yeru-yun's words about touching her meant that he had raped her. Seeing Yeru-yun biting her tongue and committing suicide, Lily couldn't help but laugh and cry, "Are you sick?" Yeru-yun had an unbearable pain in her mouth. She just thought that Lily wanted to insult her, so she bit her tongue hard. The injury was very serious. The feeling of her tongue was no longer in her mouth. She panicked and afraid. She originally wanted Lily to call the 120 emergency number for her, but she didn't expect Lily to sit still and say nothing, and even said sarcastic words to ridicule her, and even said that she was sick. Yeru-yun's character was already arrogant, and if it were someone else who said this, she would not take them to heart, but it happened that the person who said this at this time was Lily, whom she had despised the most before. Yeru-yun was naturally filled with shame and anger. Now she had nothing to do with Lily, so she was so angry that she cried. Seeing Lily sitting still and even taking out the remote control to turn on the TV, Yeru-yun burst into tears and cursed Lily in her heart. She trembled and pulled out her bag with her feet. She now took off her hands. The mortar was broken, and the color of her palms had changed a little. At this time, it was painful to move. Yeru-yun was crying and biting the zipper of the bag with her mouth. She had never felt so embarrassed in her life. Lily was now not only did he not help her, he actually laughed when he saw her like this. She finally took out the phone, but when Yeru-yun took it out, she saw that the phone was locked, and because it was the latest smart fingerprint unlocked phone she bought, she couldn't move her hands and couldn't unlock it. Seeing such a scene, Yeru-yun couldn't help but shed tears even more fiercely. On the other hand, when the Ye family received Lily's call, they initially thought that Lily was telling the Ye family to go get the things that Yeru-yun put at Lily's place. Ye's father was still a little stubborn at first, thinking that his Ye family did not lack things from the Jong family. I didn't want to go get it. After being reminded by my wife and children, I found that my daughter had never come home, and then I remembered what Lily said about Yeru-yun. By the time the Ye family hurriedly opened their car and arrived at Lily's side, it had already been more than half an hour. Later, Yeru-yun's hands were so painful that she lost consciousness. The blood around the corners of her mouth was solidified. Her hair was scattered and stuck to her body, like a crazy woman. There were already some marks on her face from Lily's slap. Purple, she huddled in the corner, staring at Lily with a resentful look. When she heard the sound of the car outside, Lily stood up, grabbed Yeru-yun's hand, and shook it hard. The sound of clicking bones sounded. Yeru-yun was trembling in pain, but she couldn't scream at all. Her tongue was now very swollen, and she could still feel numb just now. Now she couldn't even smell the smell of blood. When she heard the sound of the car outside, Yeru-yun shed tears again, and Lily pulled her too. When the dislocated hand returned to its original shape, she stood up shivering and tried to raise her hand again. You still want to be beaten? Lily sneered and raised her eyebrows. Yeru-yun saw her expression and thought of the suffering he had just suffered. He lowered his raised hand again. The door was not locked at the moment. The Ye family rushed in together. When he came in and saw that Yeruyun was indeed here, Ye's father was relieved at first, but then he quickly discovered the redness and swelling on his daughter's face and the dried blood at the corners of her mouth. He couldn't help but became furious and shouted, "What did you do to my daughter?" As soon as he finished speaking, there was the sound of parking cars outside soon. Several people turned their heads to look. After a while, Balin's figure carrying a bag also appeared at the door. Father Ye saw when he arrived at Balin, he was furious. "Look at the good son you taught, how dare he hit my daughter?" "What's going on?" Zhang's father parked the car behind him and followed him into the house. When he saw the scene in the house and the blood stains on Yeruyun's chin, he frowned and asked. When Father Ye saw his in-laws, his face became more and more ugly. He was about to accuse him again, but Yeruyun pointed at his mouth, crying but speechless, "Ah!" Her tentative move to make a sound caused blood to seep out of the already scabbed wound in her mouth. Father Ye's heart was twisted, and Father Zhang sighed. "Let's see a doctor first. If your Zhang family doesn't give me an explanation for today's matter, I won't let it go. Even if your Zhang family is powerful, I, the daughter of the Ye family, will not be bullied by you. If a little Zhang Beihe if a beast dares to beat my daughter, even if he appeals to Kyoto, I will make him pay the price. Don't think that your Zhang family can cover the sky with just one hand." In Highway Province, Father Ye was so angry that he stamped his feet. Father Zhang, the governor of a province, was being scolded by him now, and his expression was very ugly. However, seeing Yeruyun's injury, he still endured his anger and called the doctor to come over. To be continued. Carrot.